music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs it close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it?
what we do. It's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Bonjour and bienvenue, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. It is round 11 of the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith, and alongside me, as always, Tom Cairns. Tom, bonjour. Welcome to France. How are you feeling about this race today?
Bonjour, Topher, and I have to say we are going to be in for a cracker of two races, actually, and on a circuit that I fall in love with from my childhood. I expect to see some great racing here.
It is one of those circuits that everyone, at least within our age group, Tom, everyone remembers this watching up in Formula 1, the good old days of Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, and all trying to outdo each other round the Magny-Cours circuit. It was absolutely legendary. We have two races for you today, as mentioned by Tom. First of all, the League 2 race, which features all of our second-tier teams, all aiming to get promotion into League 1 at the end of the season. And then later on, our League 1 teams aiming for the main title and looking to avoid relegation down into League 2. A lot to play for in the Grand Prix World Series. Here is how it stands in the drivers at the moment. And Marino Sato finally taking his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory last time out at Imola. He's now in the lead of the championship on 91 points. Adrian Sutil, 8 points behind in the HRT. They're on 83 points. And then Will Power and Jose Maria Lopez, 75 points apiece there for third and fourth. Will Power ahead on countback by virtue of having won a Grand Prix this season. Jose Maria Lopez yet to win a race so far this season, but they're on consistency and a lot of podiums, Tom. I think he's one of the dark horses of the season and maybe could end up almost doing a Joan Mir in MotoGP, if you like.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Or even Keke Rosberg of 1982, where he had only won one race, which came towards the end of the season at Dijon, I think it was, en route to the title. And it's anyone's game, really. I mean, there's 27 points maximum on the table for each round for the drivers. And when you look at that top 10, one of the top 6 could be leading the League 2 Drivers' Championship by the end of today.
So there's so much to play for in League 2. These drivers and teams wanting to get up to the main prize next season. Looking at the rest of the top 10, Helio Castro-Neves there in 5th place, 74 points. One behind his teammate Will Power and Jose Maria Lopez. Alexander Rossi, our former championship leader, down into P6, but a strong result for him today could see him end up leading the championship once again. Will Stevens on 62 points, ahead of Callum Ilott on 54, and Tony Fuoco on 53, and Romain Grosjean still in the top 10 of League 2, but not in League 2 anymore. We will bring you more on that later on in the show. Looking at the teams now for League 2, Leighton House still lead the way, 40 points ahead of the Live team. HRT up into third, but 1 point ahead of LaRousse. So much action, so much to play for between those teams. And don't forget, it is the top 3 that will be promoted up to top tier for next season who will come away with that one when the flag falls in Laguna Seca later on in the season. Eurobrun, they're on 106, Modena on 80, Pacific on 77, Scuderia Colonia on 42, Zaxby on 38, and Force India just creeping into the top 10 there with 22 points. Tom, it's close, isn't it? 1 point between 3rd and 4th, and 3rd is a magical number that you need.
It is, and you look at Leighton House's gap to 4th place LaRousse, 71 points, or 73 points I should say, which is close to a maximum of 2 rounds actually. So Leighton House could actually clinch promotion within the next 3 or 4 rounds, which would be delightful for Chris Cafferty, because he thoroughly deserves it given how his drivers have done. I mean, we had Robert Wickens and Alex Wirtz in those Leighton House cars, well, he has anyway. Well, he had, and then he brought in Castroneves and Power, and they've simply moved forward and actually achieved more and more consistent results. And looking at the battle for 3rd place between HRT, LaRousse and Eurobrun, that for me is going to go right down to the last round at Laguna Seca with anything can happen really between now and the end of the year. And can maybe Pacific surprise, because they've been on better form recently, but they're not quite producing the results of promotion form just yet, but they've got enough time to catch up.
Well, they have been playing the musical chairs so far this season of bringing in multiple drivers to effectively evaluate them across the course of the season, but Carter McCollum is seeming quite happy with his driver lineup at the moment, that being Brendan Hartley and Sergio Sate Camara. So will that bring them better results? We will find out in the last few rounds of the championship. But for now, let's head down to the trackside and find out the grid for the League 2 race. And it is Alex Lynn on pole position in the HRT, his 3rd outing in the Grand Prix World Series, and he's put it on pole by 1/1000th of a second to Marino Sato, our latest winner there in 2nd. Antonio Fuoco makes it 2 lives in the top 3, ahead of our 2-time race winner Elio Castroneves. Will Power in the 2nd Leighton House, heading up row 3 ahead of Jose Maria Lopez in 7th position. Adrian Suttel and Alexander Rossi make up row 4 ahead of Marcus Finkelhock and Scott Speed. Speed having a bit of a better qualifying session this time around. Callum Eilott at the head of row 6 ahead of Scuderia Coloni's Alan McNish, then the Pacific of Brendan Hartley alongside the other Pacific of Sergio Sate Camara on row 7. Row 8 sees Sam Bird alongside Christian Lundgaard still looking to make an impact on his first few races in the Grand Prix World Series. Row 9, Jack Aitken and Mike Conway. Those two need a strong result if they are to secure their seats for next season. Lucas de Gracia, the head of row 10, ahead of MotoGP legend Valentino Rossi. Then we have Jerome D'Ambrosio and Sergei Sorokin on row 11. Row 12, Oliver Turvey and Giorgio Pantano. And on the last row, Gaston Mazzacani and Will Stevens at the back, having picked up a back of the grid penalty at the last race in Imola. Now heading down to trackside to get this race underway. Alex Lynn with a debut pole position here today, Tom. What can he do from there, do you think?
I think he can get off the line well, but it'll be interesting to see how the likes of Castroneves and Power do, because they seem to get off the line very, very quickly, more than the front runners do. But we'll see how this one goes.
And how can the 2 live cars do from 2nd and 3rd as well? They are aiming to get promotion into League 1. They need strong results for the rest of the season. And we are off and away in Magny-Cours. Alex Lynn leads off the line, and it looks like Marino Sato is trying to get down the inside of the Englishman, but no, Lynn holds on around the outside of turn 1 and keeps the lead. Lopez up into 3rd place ahead of Elio Castroneves. Fuoco dropping down from 3rd to 5th off the line, now up into 4th again, back past Elio Castroneves around the outside of turn 3 by the looks of it. Marino Sato already getting into the slipstream of Alex Lynn, and Jose Maria Lopez looking threatening there as well as they make the run down to Adelaide. Alex Lynn looks like he's going to hold the lead here. Lopez looking down the inside of Sato, but backs off for now. And they're all now bunching up into pinch points. So we've got some carbon flying. What's going on there? It looks like Adrian Suttil has lost his rear wing there, so he's going to have to come into the pits for repairs. That is terrible news for the guy who is 2nd in the championship at the moment. Now, what's happened here, Tom?
It looks like one of the LaRousse cars may have run into the back of it there. Is it Rossi running to... Oh, it's Eilott, actually. Eilott runs into the back of Suttil, going into the Adelaide hairpin. I thought a front wing went off one of the Leighton houses, but no, it's Adrian Suttil's rear wing that has gone. That's the 2nd race in a row that Suttil will fall to the back of the field by the end of lap 1.
That is now too disaster for the German. He is well in contention for the championship this season, but he now finds himself going backwards minus a rear wing, getting a little bit in the way there of Will Power. He's got a bit of a train forming behind him. This is allowing the likes of Alex Lynn, Marino Sato and everyone else to get away and build up a bit of a gap at the front. Eilert, who was the aggressor in that particular attack, he is up into 7th position as a result. The stewards might be having a look at that, but Tom, I think I'd put that down to a turn 1 incident more than anything.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, we'll leave it for the stewards to decide on that one. It was only ever slight contact, really, wasn't it? That was enough to contribute to Suttle losing his rear wing. But Suttle has it with it all to do, and Eilert was lucky to get away with it without damage.
So don't forget, throughout the course of the race, you can get in touch via the YouTube live chat and state your opinions and comments on here. As Antonio Fuoco is trying to get down the inside of Lopez, having to back off there on the run down to Adelaide. Is he going to get another look? Actually, no, he backs out of it, lives to fight another day. Lopez holding firm in 3rd place there. You can get in touch via our YouTube live chat. A few people already watching along with us today. Mississippi24, good afternoon to you. Motorsport Mike, the team manager of Midland Racing, hello to you as well. Double Bubble Disco Queen, or as we better know her, Gemma Dixon, the team principal of Scuderia Coloni in this race as well. Looking at the rest of the comments so far, Tobias Wirtz, guten Tag, my friend, hello to you. Good to see you watching along with us today. John Monroe looks as if he's not really happy with what happened down at the Adelaide hairpin there, Tom, asking, did the LaRouche just take out a HRT? I reckon he's going to be having a look into the steward's office at any time soon.
I should think so too. And this is how, whilst you've got one HRT out in front, the other is at the back of the field. Alex Lynn posting a knee fast as but that lap will come down as the race thickens. And yeah, I mean, it must feel like an eternity for...
Oh, we got Brendan Hartley out. Sorry to cut across you there, Tom. Brendan Hartley, going for a little bit of a spin across the grass there. He's minus a front wing and he's minus a side pod. What has happened to him there? We've just caught on to the end of the replay there, so we're not going to get to see what actually has happened to the Kiwi there. Judging by the fact he was around other cars, Tom, I would say he came to grief with another car there, but with the replay not showing the whole story there, not really sure what conclusions... Oh, the wheel's just fallen off there. That is not good news for Hartley. Looked like he's about to get back underway and get back to the pits, but one wheel falls off his wagon and Brendan Hartley is out of this race.
It's a shame that for Hartley. I think it's his first retirement for Pacific since he joined them mid-season. Yeah, that's just a really clumsy error there from Mr. Hartley himself.
So there is our first retirement of the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. We're only on lap 3 out of 54 at the front. Alex Lynn enjoys a 1.5 second advantage over Marino Sato in second. Lopez still holding off Fuoco. And Castroneves is on fire! We're going to get our second retirement in the space of a minute here, as Castroneves, his Judd engine has caught ablaze, and he will be going no further in the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. He needs to get out of the way as soon as possible. That is Callum Eilert getting a face full of smoke there as he navigates his way around the Leighton House, and Castroneves not pulling off to the side of the circuit yet. He's trying to get as far as he can, maybe minimising his walk back to the garages, although he has just gone straight past the pit entry. Now he pulls over to the side of the circuit, and Helio Castroneves, he won his first 2 Grand Prix within a Grand Prix World Series, made an absolute barnstormer of an impression, did the Brazilian. But today in Magny-Cours, he now pulls over to the side of the circuit and he is out of the race.
Body blow there for Chris Cavanier from the Leighton House squad. I think that's Castroneves' first time in the Grand Prix World Series, if my memory serves me correctly. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's his first retirement.
Yeah, I'm just finding my notes here on Helio Castroneves. He came into the championship at South Africa for the Kyalami Grand Prix, won the race. Went to Istanbul for the next event, won the race. And then in Britain after that at the Birmingham Super Prix, finished 7th, and then last time out at Imola finished 2nd. 4 races and he is 5th in the championship, so strong have been his results. But today he will take no further part in the Magny-Cours Grand Prix, and as you say, Tom, that is his first retirement of the season.
So Lane crossing the line, nearly 2 seconds ahead of Sato. Lopez keeping in touch as well in 3rd place. There is Valentino Rossi. Has he got a problem? Because it looks like he had a problem there for a moment, did Rossi, but he's kept his nose ahead of Will Stevens, who's slowly making his way through the field. He's already passed the Fon Matals, Now he's going to have trouble passing one of the Andrea Modas.
I'll be interested to see what Adrian Suttel's progress is here today. Don't forget at the last race at Imola, he fell to the back there as well, and puts on a superb drive through the field to bring home some points. What could be crucial points for his title assault. Could he possibly be doing the same here again today, falling to the back at the start? Can he get himself up into the top 10 later? We will keep an eye on his progress. Riding on board now with Christian Lundgaard in the Scuderia Coloni down in 14th position at the moment. That is Sergei Sorokin up in front of him. Lundgaard brought into the Coloni fold as a replacement for Perry McCarthy by Gemma Dixon. She took that decision to drop McCarthy from the team, who, to be fair, Tom, he was underperforming, and I don't blame Gemma at all for making that decision.
I thought that was coming as well, Topher, and I think Lundgaard's doing a fine job so far in 14th place, but comparing him to where McNish is, he needs to try and make up a few places, either during the pit stops or on track if he can.
So, Alex Lynn, 2.1 seconds, he has a major opportunity here to get himself up in the high reaches of the championship and bag himself a Grand Prix victory here today. We still have a long way to go. It is only lap 6 out of 54 as Antonio Fuoco trying to get down the inside of Lopez once again, but Lopez has shut the door quite firmly in the Italian's face right there. Lopez looking for yet another podium this season. He's up there in 4th in the championship. By virtue of having scored 4 podiums across the course of the 10 races so far this season. Today looking to make it 5 from 11. He's yet to win a Grand Prix, is Jose Maria Lopez. And I thought there's going to be a bit of a collision there between Sorokin and Lundgaard. Got very close today on the run down to the Adelaide hairpin. Sorokin has a little bit of a train forming behind him at the moment. And Lundgaard, I imagine, will want to get past sooner rather than later. We're now riding on board with Jose Maria Lopez there in 3rd position. You can see Sato up the road, but closer in his mirrors will be the other life car of Antonio Fuoco. 0.3 of a second separates those two. When is Fuoco going to make the move? And don't forget, Fuoco is very much a contender in this championship. He is currently 38 points, off the lead of the championship at the moment. But Tom, you know as well as I do, one result can change everything as far as the standings are concerned.
It can, and Len could even throw himself into that fight if he can score enough points between now and the end of the season. There's Conway, who's just lost a position to Alex Rossi on this lap. He's in 10th place for Real. I mean, Real could really do with a strong result here today. I mean, look at Conway and Turvey actually, who are in those cars. They've not exactly been performing at the heights of where they want to be under Ed Hunter. And we've got Adrian Suttel in the HRT, just trying to catch up to the rest of the field. I don't know how far he's behind the Von Mattels, but he's 10 seconds behind them, so he's still got a bit of ground to make up on those particular machines.
So we will keep an eye on Adrian Suttel throughout the course of this race and see where he comes out at the end of the 54 laps. Looking through your order on lap 7, Alex Lynn 2.5 seconds in the lead ahead of Marino Sato. Jose Maria Lopez still holding on to 3rd ahead of Antonio Fuoco, very close to those two. And Di Grassi's up. That's a big one there for the Brazilian drive. That's a huge impact, and as one of the Zach speeds already out of the Grand Prix. Let's get another look at that, Tom. He's going through the chicane here. Looks like he's got a bit of oversteer in the first section, and that has thrown him right offline and straight into the barrier in the second part. A huge impact there for the Brazilian, Tom. Do you think that's just a simple driver error on his part?
I wonder if he had a suspension issue which threw him off the road to begin with. But yeah, that's a really nasty impact there for Lucas Di Grassi. But he is out of the car and he's finding more carbon fibre coming off that Zach speed. So that's one of, I think, is that Mike Smith who's in charge of the Zach Speed team? Yeah, that's one of his cars out of the race at Sunbird. Currently running in 12th. They could do with a points finish here today.
I think Andrew Sampson in the YouTube live chat has just summarised that particular incident very well with one simple word: ouch. That's exactly how we felt watching that in the con box. Lucas Di Grassi out of the car, he's perfectly fine, he will live to fight another day. And Marcus Finkelhock trying to get down the inside of Mike Conway here. Conway having a very strong outing so far. One of Real's best performances so far in this race. They haven't really got a lot of points at this particular moment in the championship. They got a few here and there. They've got 5 points finishes, their best results being 5th at the Sepang Grand Prix. That was at the hands of Neil Jarni, who has now been replaced by Oliver Turby. Jarni no longer part of the Grand Prix World Series. And Jose Maria Lopez still right in front of Antonio Fuoco. He is holding on to that position like a dog holds on to a bone. He does not want to give up a 5th podium here today. Lopez, he wants to try and help the Eurobrand team get into League One next season. This has been a fantastic season so far for Lopez. Started off a little bit on the back foot, did the Argentine. Yeah, wasn't able to get the results early on. He had 3 retirements in a row from the start of the season, but did have the first pole position of the season, then brought a second place in Korea, and that's when the results started to come in. 4 podiums so far for the Argentine. Can he make it to 5th today? Can he maybe even challenge for the win later on? Well, not if this guy in the lead has anything to say about it. Alex Lynn, 3.4 seconds now. He is walking away with this in the moment, Tom. It's a fantastic performance.
Sensational from Alex Lynn. Did you see Lundgaard? Ooh, I thought he was going to tap that rear wheel there of Sirotkin coming into the Adelaide hairpin. We're not seeing an awful lot of overtaking so far to Topher. I wonder when drivers do come in for their stops, you know, getting by drivers who are out of sync, it may become easier for them to overtake them into that Adelaide hairpin.
Now here's Will Stevens running in 19th position at the moment. He started in last for this Grand Prix, having picked up a back of the grid penalty for causing a collision at the last round in Imola. Doing a fine job so far, getting up from 26th into 19th, and Mike Conway shutting the door there on Marcus Finkelhock. As you said, Tom, overtaking proving to be a little bit tricky here today, so pit strategy might end up playing a big part in this race. But look at this, Tom. Lopez still under attack from Fuoco. This is the closest Fuoco's looked all race.
Yeah, and I think Fuoco's going to try and make a move here into the Adelaide hairpin. Here we go. Down
the inside goes the Italian, and he finally gets the move done. Both lives are into the top 3 as Jose Maria Lopez finally concedes P3 to Antonio Fuoco. There is Marino Sato, our championship leader, hoping to extend his advantage over Adrian Suttel, who is down in last at the moment. So Sato, he will have been told that Suttel's down out of the points, and he'll be very happy about that. We just cut away from the battle there between Lundgaard and Sirotkin to look at Will Power, the sole remaining Leighton House in the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. 5th position at the moment in Power, and he's another one who is very much in contention for the title. He's 3rd at the moment, having picked up 1 victory at the Chennai Grand Prix earlier on this season. 75 points to his name. He's only 16 off the lead that Marino Sato enjoys, and it's all very much to play for. We are in the 6th to last race of the season. We have seen the championship lead change at pretty much every single Grand Prix so far. Oh, Mike Conway once again shutting the door on Marcus Finkelhock there, who now looks a bit closer to Sam Bird behind him actually, so Bird maybe fancying a move up into 11th position here.
The gap between Lynn and 10th place Conway, 33 seconds. Oh, I thought I saw an Andrea Moda going wide there. Valentino Rossi, that is. And Stevens must have already got by him at some point, so Stevens moving up another place, as we just ride on board here with Alex Lynn, who's continuing to extend the gap. I just wonder, once he starts to get up to back markers, that's when he needs to hit in. We are now on lap 11. When are we going to start seeing the 2 stoppers coming in?
I would imagine in the next few laps, maybe around about 15 onwards, maybe that sort of time. As we've seen in the last few Grand Prix, we've had most of the field going on to 2-stop strategies, but just occasionally a driver trying to make a 1-stop strategy work. We saw it from Marino Sato at the last race in Imola. He tried the 1-stop strategy, alternating to everyone else, and he made it work as he took his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory last time out. Can he do that again here today? We haven't seen the fuel loads yet for any of the cars. Alex Lynn 4.2 seconds in the green now over Marino Sato, so Lynn may be running a bit of a lighter fuel load at this moment in the race. We will find out over the course of the next few laps. Lap 12, here's your order. Alex Lynn, Marino Sato, Antonio Fuoco, Jose Maria Lopez, Will Power, Callum Ilott, Alan McNish, Scott Speed, Alexander Rossi and Mike Conway still holding on to the final points as it stands for the Real team. That is a result they can very much do with as they look more towards the end of the season now. Finkelhock challenging Conway for 10th at the moment, but not able to find a way through. He's 3/10 off at the moment. Sam Bird in 12th and Sergei Sorokin still ahead of Christian Lundgaard. Those two having a right old ding-dong battle for 13th place there. And here is a battle of P10 Conway once again under pressure from Marcus Finkelhock, but not able to find a way through. Here is Adrian Suttel we ride on board with, P23. He's up a few positions from the last place that he was enduring earlier on. And there's his teammate Alex Lynn, 4.3 in the lead. A bit of a bittersweet day at the moment for the HRT team. One car in the lead and one at the back, as that is Oliver Turvey conceding P18 to Will Stevens. He's continuing to make his way up through the field, having started last earlier on, and 3 retirements in this race. Brendan Harley crashing out earlier on, Leo Cashnova's on fire, and Lucas de Grassi smashing into the wall.
Aiken's in trouble, Topher. He's just been overtaken
Jack
by...
Aiken looks like he's going a bit slowly here. He is indeed. Oh, has he been hit on the back there? I thought there might have been a bit of a nudge there on the back of Aiken. You see some yellow flags flying there.
And someone else has gone off. Someone else has gone off behind me.
Has someone hit the back of Aiken? Valentino Rossi's out. Yeah, you can see a strict car there. That looks like a big one for Rossi. What's happened here? So trying to get past Aiken. Oh my goodness! That is very naughty from Jack Aiken, cutting right across Valentino Rossi there, taking the Italian out of the race. The stewards will surely come down hard on Jack Aiken for that one. We're going to get another replay, Tom. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, so, yeah, there was no time for Ross to react to that. I mean, on such a dangerous part of the track as well, with the barrier so close, at such an angle, I think Aiken's going to have the book thrown at him for that.
I would not be at all surprised if Aiken does indeed come under the wrath of the stewards for that one. Valentino Rossi out of the Magny-Cours Grand Prix, and I don't know what Jack Aiken was thinking on that when he cut right across the front of the Andrea Moda there. I think that will at least be back a grid penalty for next race, Tom, but that will be at the very least.
My interpretation of that is that it's going to be a... Ilot's in trouble. Ilot's got a problem.
Callum Ilott becoming another retirement in this race with a transmission problem. The guy who won the season opening Taupo Grand Prix is falling out of the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Yet another retirement in this Grand Prix. They're falling like flies at the moment. We're only on lap 13. So Gearbox packs in for the LaRousse. That's going to be good news to the likes of Will Stevens and Tony Fuoco and people who are near Ilott in the championship. So that's one less rival taking away points from them.
So Marcus Winkelhock goes up into the points in 10th place. You can just see Jack Aiken, who is being overtaken by Adrian... no, that's Alex Lynn, actually. I think Aiken's just been in the pits to fix the problem, whatever it was. Now he's out behind Alex Lynn and doesn't want to get in the way of the leaders for too long, does he?
Well, it's just been confirmed by race control. Jack Aiken is under investigation. I don't think there is any surprise on that one at all. We definitely expect a penalty for that particular collision, Tom. How harsh it's going to be, we will find out later on, but as it stands, a Force India under investigation. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but haven't Force India used their full allocation of 5 drivers for this season?
They have, but if a race ban falls Ed Spencer's team way, I don't think he'll have a choice but to just allow another driver to come in. I mean, he can use Alonso Jr. or Martin Brundle if he wants to, but I don't know. Because his reserve driver at the moment, as far as I know,
it's Alex Anardi.
Yeah, so he'll have to go back in, won't he?
Right, and Tony Fuoco into the pits as well as Jose Maria Lopez, so they are the first of the 2 stoppers here today. Alex Lynn putting his first lap onto one of the Force Indias. That will be Jack Aiken, who's involved in that instance earlier on. And Tony Fuoco and Jose Maria Lopez both into the pits, taking their pit stops earlier than everyone else. Where are they going to filter back out? Fuoco is out in 7th position behind Alexander Rossi, and Lopez follows him through in 8th position. So a little bit of clear air to play with. We will see just how much clear air they have once the graphics update. And Sam Bird going a little bit wide there through 3, but managing to collect the Zach speed and get back on track again. He is currently in 11th place, and Marcus Winkelhock in front once again, having a look at Mike Conway, and Conway once again shutting the door. Conway having a very defensive drive at the moment, and well, he would, wouldn't he? He's in position to get some points for the Real team today. He will want to defend that with all his might, and at the moment, doing a very good job.
So looking at Fuoco's gap, I mean, Lynn coming into the pits now. Now, I would expect him to come out ahead of Fuoco with this one. So let's see what strategy he's going on. He's gone on a 2-stop actually, as expected. Now, I'm interested to see who is going to try and do the 1-stop here, Topher. 7.8 seconds, that's a good stop actually from the HRT crew. And clear track, where is Lynn going to filter back out? Will he get out in front of McNish, possibly? No, I don't think he will.
Oh, he just has actually. That was very close to Alex Lynn becoming a cropper there. McNish very nearly pulling it back for him. Now Sam Bird is off the track. So we've had one Zach speed into the barrier already. And oh, what's happened to Bird there? He's taken a wild ride across the curbing there and into the kitty litter. Is that his own mistake, or has he been punted off by another driver? We didn't quite catch the right side of the replay for that one. Zach Speed not enjoying a good race here today. De Grassi already out earlier on, having had that monstrous shunt into the barrier. and Sam Bird very nearly having one of his own.
Yeah, it looks like he'd done it all by himself, to be quite honest with you. And Sam Bird's going to fall right down the order, allowing cars to go past. He rejoins behind one of the Fonmatels. Yeah, that is just Zach Speed's race going from bad to worse now. Sato's lead, 7.3 seconds, and for Lynn, at right this moment, I would say you need around 26 seconds for a pit stop here at Magny-Cours. So Lynn has timed his pit stop to perfection here, has got a great opportunity to win the race. He just needs to keep the car on the track now, really, doesn't he?
That's absolutely brilliant teamwork from the HRT team. A 7-second pit stop to get him back out on track again, and crucially ahead of the chasing pack. It was very close between himself and Alan McNish to get himself into P3. Absolutely crucial, as you say, Tom. That could be a pit stop that wins him the Grand Prix. Suttle into P18. They're trying to get past, I think that might be one of the Fonmatels. I'm not exactly sure which one. Alex Lynn still in the net lead of this race, as Will Power and Alexander Rossi into the pits. Marino Sato in the lead, but still yet pits himself. What strategy is the Japanese on at the moment? Is he going for a one-stop strategy again, maybe? It won him the race last time out in Imola. Maybe trying the alternate strategy again here, Tom?
Possibly. And just looking at Will Power in terms of where he came back out in 7th place behind Jose Maria Lopez. So he hasn't quite leapfrogged him in the pit stops. You just see Oliver Turvey trying to get past Alexander Rossi, who's exited the pit lane in 14th place. He's got a bit of clear track ahead of him before the next car, which is Will Stevens. So let's see what Mr. Rossi can find between now and the end of the race, whilst his teammate Callum Eilert is on the sidelines. LaRousse, I don't know where their form has gone. LaRousse, I mean, we thought him at the beginning of the season as like the dark horses, and now they've just dropped away.
Well, don't forget at the start of the season, Tom, they came home with a 1-2 victory. Callum Eilert leading home Alexander Rossi. It was a fantastic start to the season. Will Stevens out of the race. His gearbox has packed in, and that is our 6th retirement of the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. That's not really a good result for Paul Twemlow and the team. He's hoping to get that team up towards the top 3 again. That's not going to happen that way. Will Stevens out of the race, joining Brendan Hartley, Idio Castroneves, Lucas Di Grassi, Valentino Rossi, and Callum Eilert on the sidelines.
Sorry, I thought Sartor was in trouble for a moment there.
Well, we've had so many retirements so far, Tom. It would not surprise me if we had another one in the next couple of minutes.
It looks like it was going offline really slowly there, but it was just slowing down towards... It was on the exits of, I think it was Nürburgring it was going through, or Imola. I can't remember the chicane that follows the Adelaide hairpin. But yeah, it's one of those races, isn't it?
Right, we haven't seen it on camera, but Christian Lundgaard is now ahead of Sergei Sorokin, who is now in turn fending off the attentions of Sergio Sette camera, as Antonio Fuoco trying to get down the inside of Scott Speed here. Marino Sato into the pits from the lead, so he is not on a one-stop strategy, he's sticking to a regular two-stop strategy. So this man here, Alex Lynn, will reassume the lead of the race. There's Scott Speed up there in P3, he is yet to pit, but now holding up Antonio Fuoco, which the Italian will not be at all happy about. So where is Sato going to filter back into this? It'll be trying to figure out where he's going to be. So around about speed maybe.
He's out
there we go. So Scott Speed, the sandwich, the meat in a life sandwich now. He's yet to pit. Sato crucially getting out ahead of the car who is on older tyres and will be suffering a lack of speed at the moment. And here is the race leader once again. Alex Lynn, 7.4 seconds in the lead now over Marino Sato. All he has to do now is nurse that car, make sure that he gets to the end. HRT putting a lot of their money into power this season. They put a bit into reliability, but not as much as maybe some of the other teams would have done. But at the moment it's paying off for John Munro. He's on course for a victory here today as he fights to get promotion into League 1 next season.
So right on well with Sergio Sette camera, who's one of those who stayed out the longest. Scott Speed doing a fine job in 3rd place actually for the Modern squad. Now, would he be going on a one-stop?
Quite possible. He has yet to pit. We're on lap 19. Out of 54, the halfway mark will be lap 27. So Scott Speed, he's gone through for another lap, I think. Or he's just dropped behind Antonio Fuoco. Is that a result of him coming into the pit lane? Yes, it is. Scott Speed into pit, so he is on the two-stop strategy as well. A fine drive from the American up to this point, but he now falls out of the top 3 and let's see where he filters back in. This normal service resumes at the front. Alex Lynn leads ahead of Marino Sato and Antonio Fuoco.
We've just seen Suttle passing Pantano, that fast chicane, the last fast chicane I should say, before was it Nürburgring or was it Imola? I can't quite tell between the chicanes there, because there is a Nürburgring chicane and an Imola chicane on the Magny-Cours track. Just looking at it, it's the Imola chicane that Suttle went through. So he goes up to...
Jerome D'Ambrosio's on fire. Sorry to cut across you, Tom. Jerome D'Ambrosio becoming another cropper in the Magny-Cours Grand Prix as his engine says no more. The Andrea motor is on fire. The Belgian's terrified and he's about to pull off to the side of the circuit and be yet another retirement from the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. How many are we going to get for the end of this race? We're not even halfway through and we already have 7 retirements. D'Ambrosio pulling off to the side of the circuit now. The engine is no more and he will go no further in this race. It's been a little bit of a baptism of fire, if you pardon the pun there, Tom. Belgian not having the easiest time so far since coming into the Grand Prix World Series. Out of 4 races he's done, he's got 1 8th place finish to his name for 4 points, but also 3 retirements. Not so good so far for that side of the Andrea Moda garage.
No points again for Lewis Bessendale and for the Andrea Moda team, clearly getting fed up of the run of results his team is going through at the moment. Antonio Fuoco in 3rd place. I think Life will be happy with where they are in 2nd and 3rd, won't they, Topher? Because this is a result that they would most definitely want. Sergei Sorokin 15th, behind the Fonmetal. I think he came in for a pit stop actually. I don't think Mazzucane has been in the pits yet, as far as I know. But this has been a really compelling race so far. We've just seen Sato coming through the Imola chicane now, so he looks to close in on Alexson. And the drive of the race so far, just thinking about it, I mean, Scott Speed's done brilliantly to get himself up to 8th. I know we've had drivers dropping out in that, but Suttle making his way back up to 9th. I'll be interested to see what strategy he's on.
Well, Scott Speed, he started 17th for this race, and as you say, Tom, up into P8. He's having a fantastic drive so far here today. So I think your assessment of drive of the race so far, I'll find it very hard to argue with. I will tell you one driver who's not going to be driver of the day today, Tom, and that is Jack Aitken. The news has just come down, Tom. Jack Aitken received a 1-race ban for dangerous driving. How do you see that one?
Not at all.
Oh, before we do that, Tom,
out.
Sato's on fire now. It's another retirement in this Grand Prix, and crucially, it is our championship leader. Marino Sato pulls off to the side of the circuit. Oh my goodness, this race has got everything so far.
That's the dangerous places parts that is okay. The Marshals pushed him away.
The Marshals doing a very good job to get that life car, or rather that lack of life, off the circuit. Marino Sato does another retirement. It's Gaston Mazzucane getting it all crossed up there. I don't think he's come into the pits yet, so maybe getting onto one side here. And Jack Aitken now out of the race as well. Another one bites the dust.
Has he taken Jack Aitken out? Because they're looking at Mazzucane's line. Did Jack Aitken fall off the circuit?
Well, we didn't quite see what happened there on the replay. We'd have to see what happened to that one later on. But speaking of Jack Aitken, Tom, as I was just reading out the parish notes that I've got here, Jack Aitken has received a 1-race ban for dangerous driving, and I'm not going to argue against it, Tom, but what's your thoughts on it?
Not going to argue against it, and we're down to 18 runners now with Jack Aitken's retirement. As you can see, Sam Bird thought about trying to get back to on lane.
So it's Sam Bird and Marcus Fingelhawk getting all locked up as well. This is getting quite manic at the moment in Magny-Cours. Sam Bird very nearly slamming into the back of our race leader, effectively almost doing a Verstappen on Montoya in Brazil 2001 with those antics, but nothing happening there. Gaston Mazzucane now out as well, and it's an engine problem for the Fonmetal. How many cars have we had dropping out of this race in the last 5 minutes, Tom? I've lost count.
Made that, well, 9 so far in this race, but in the last few minutes we've had about 4, haven't we?
I'm checking my notes here. These get written down for me as it's happening, and just in the last few moments we had Will Stevens going out with a gearbox issue, Jerome D'Ambrosio's engine packed up, Jack Aitken with an accident, and Scott Speed, another one. A suspension failure for the Modena there. What is going on today here in front? So you can see that front right tyre up in the air. That suspension has absolutely knackered itself, and he's getting craned across the gravel here. The Marshall's taking a little bit of an odd line here with that Modena. That is yet another retirement, and Scott Speed was having such a fantastic Grand Prix up to this point. So Sam Bird! Sam Bird's out as well. What is going on here today? I mean, I've forgotten how to counter this point, but Sam Bird, he's got another engine problem of his own. I think that makes us down to 14 runners now. I think I make that.
I think it's 15 actually. Sam Bird becoming the 11th retirement of the race. Punter going up to 14th position. There's another car behind him, which it's not Adrian Sutter. I was just thinking of another car behind. I was looking at Lynn there. I felt like it was almost like a jinx. The camera panned across him there, but yeah, that's incredible. I don't understand how we're getting so many retirements at this stage. I mean, this almost reminds me of Australia 1999 Topher, where we had drivers just dropping out with numerous problems.
Australia 2002 as well. I think there were only 7 classified finishes in that particular race. The race made famous for Mark Webber scoring points for Minardi on debut, but here is Marcus Finkelhock attacking Adrian Sutil. Sutil's up into what is now 8th position. So through all of these retirements, this is really benefiting Sutil, who was in last at the end of the first lap. He's now into 8th position and well within the point. So is this a saving grace for Adrian Sutil's day? But don't forget, Tom, he's still got to make it to the end himself.
Well, he pitted at the end of lap 1, didn't he? So he's going on a longer second stint before he pits in again. So it won't be too long before Sutil does pit. I'm just thinking, if he does pit now, one of you will be joining some traffic actually when he comes out. But what traffic? We're down to 14 runners. It's great. Giorgio Ponce, 14th position for Von Mattel. They could do with a point here today, couldn't they?
They could indeed, and it is very possible with the amount of retirements we're getting. And we are indeed down to 14. Giorgio Panto is the last out of the runners at the moment. The only one who has been lapped as we are on lap 25 out of 54. We're not even halfway through the race, Tom, but we've got just over half the runners left.
Maybe in trouble, I think, because he's just dropped back behind Alex Rossi. I might be wrong actually, but he's just lost a position to him. I just wondered whether he had a problem or not.
Well, we hope it's not another problem in the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. We've sort of gotten to that point now, Tom. Whenever the camera switches to another driver, I feel like they're going to retire. It's just become a massive race of attrition at the moment. 14 runners left in the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. There is your second place runner, Antonio Fuoco. And it looks like Alan McNish did simply just lose a position to Rossi there. The LaRousse trying to get some points home for Will Knight's team with one driver biting the dust earlier on. So, I'm just trying to recap everything that's going on. Just checking my notes here, Tom. So, Brendan Hartley crashed out. Hiro Castroneves on fire. Lucas Gratian. Oh, there's another one. There is another retirement. That is one of the re-outs. It is Oliver Turvey out of 13th position. So another one falls by the wayside in the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. And Edward Hunter in the chat, he literally just commented saying that he's waiting for one of his cars to pull off the track because he thinks it's inevitable. Well, there you go, Edwards. One of your cars is out. The other one up there in P9. Let's hope that Mike Conway can get to the end and bring home some points for the team. So down to 13 now in this race. What is going on in this race, Tom? I'm trying to make heads or tails of this, and I can't seem to find any coin to do that with.
No, I mean, this is getting ridiculous now, isn't it? I mean, we're at half race distance and we're down to 13 runners, and we've just seen Lopez coming through there. He almost at the side there, but I think that's just the normal racing line he was taking. But yeah, Jose Maria Lopez in 3rd place now, whilst Lynn and Franco. Now we want to maybe have a look at. That's just.
I thought it was another one there, but it's Oliver Turvey who's still not pulled off to the side of the circuit. That car's been smoking for at least half a lap now. He needs to get back to the pits or get to the side of the circuit. It's actually quite dangerous to keep your car going like that because you can impede other competitors. But it looks like he is now indeed pulling off to the side of the circuit. Oliver Turvey becomes another retirement from the League 2 race.
So looking at the championship standings, Sutil, who is currently in 8th place, he would only get 4 points from this. He'll move on to 87, 4 behind Salsa. Got Will Power, who is in 4th place. He'd move on to 87. Jose Maria Lopez's 3rd place, his 3rd place would move him on to 90. and who's in second place right now? Antonio Fuoco. They go on to 72. So it's hotting up at the moment in the race for the title in the lead 2 driver standings, but there's still some way to go yet, and awful lot can change between now and the checkered flag.
Now here's an interesting battle and potentially a crucial battle for the championship, Tom. Jose Maria Lopez in third with Will Power right behind him in P4. These two are fighting for the championship and both have a very real chance of getting the job done at the end of the season. And goodness sake, and Lopez cutting across in front of Will Power there. These two actually separated by nothing when it comes to the points. They're both on 75 points each. Will Power is ahead on countback by virtue of his victory in Chennai earlier on in the season, but absolutely nothing to separate those two in the standings, and nothing to separate them out on track at the moment. And Tom, that could be a crucial fight between those two when we come to the end of the season.
Could be. Just looking at Antonio Fuoco, who is just looking to keep the car on the road right now. And Jose Maria Lopez in third ahead of Will Power. It's Alex Rossi 5th, Alan McNish 6th, Marcus Finkelhock 7th, Adrian Sutil 8th, Mike Conway in the sole surviving Real is 9th, and Christian Lundgaard in the Coloni in 10th place. So both Colonis in the points. Mike Conway will be in desperate need of scoring some points here today. I mean, Mike Conway's last points finish was 4 rounds ago at Kyalami, where he picked up a 10th place finish.
3 points finishes so far this season for Mike Conway, a 7th place in Sepang, a 10th place in Chennai and a 10th place in Kyalami. Now Will Power once again having a look at Jose Maria Lopez. They like to have a look down into that particular kink, but it's quite easy to defend at the moment in the circuit. They need to wait until they pass that kink and get the job done down into the Adelaide hairpin. Will Power not getting the job done on Jose Maria Lopez just yet, the Argentine holding on to third position here, and the lead that Alex Lynn is enjoying at the moment, 12 seconds over Antonio Fuoco. That is really comfortable, and when Lynn comes in for a second pit stop, he will come out between Power and Alexander Rossi, and the gap between those two, 21 seconds. That's a lovely chunk of air to get yourself into when Lynn comes in for his second pit stop. He's right on board with the Englishman at the moment, leading in the HRT, and only his third outing in the Grand Prix World Series. He's made a brilliant impression on John Monroe and the HRT team since he came into the championship. 6th place on debut in Birmingham and 5th place at a following race with the fastest lap. Now is he about to take his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory? It's been a stellar drive so far for Alex Lynn. 14.5 seconds now in the lead over Antonio Fuoco. There seems to be no stopping this guy at the moment, Tom.
So far this season we've had 16 winners from 20 races. Can Alex Lynn make it 17 from 21?
That is how competitive the championship's been, as Will Power's having a look at the inside of Lopez. Oh, I think there might have just been very slight contact there from a wheel onto front wing there. It looks like Will Power might not have any damage from that, but that was pretty much as close as you can get without making the move stick, Tom.
Very much so. As Lopez doing a fine job holding off the Leighton House. You'd have thought the Leighton House would have got by very easily, but it's not the easiest track to overtake on Topher is Magny-Cours. You can just see Lynn crossed over the line to complete lap 30, gap 14.5 seconds over Antonio Fuoco, who lost time behind the back marker of Giorgio Pansno. So he'll not be too pleased with that, as Lundgaard makes a move down the inside of the Adelaide hairpin, but no overtake there. And behind him is Sergio Sette Camara, who is doing a fine race so far in 11th place. He's been on a good run of form recently, Sette Camara, actually, isn't he?
He has been on a good run of form. Let me just find
his
stats here. He finished 7th. He finished at the last race in Italy, so some debut points for him. A very strong drive there was in Imola for the Brazilian driver. Lopez once again coming under attack from Will Power, but not able to get the job done. Now Christian Lundgaard down there in 10th place. He's been very racy today, Tom. He was battling with Sergei Sorokin earlier on in this race and eventually made the move stick on the Force India. Now trying to pressure Mike Conway into a mistake and make the move into P9. So Christian Lundgaard brought in as a replacement for Perry McCarthy and doing a fine job in this race so far, Tom.
In a fine race so far, and looking at those long lists of the timers, I mean, what can I say? It's just been a race of attrition, hasn't it? This is on. We'll go back to Adelaide earlier this year. One of the races, it was the lead 2 on. I think we had like 5 finishes, didn't we?
Yes, I think it was 5 finishes in that particular race. As you know, we had 6 classified finishes because Alexander Rossi had completed 90% race distance, but he still didn't make it to the checkered flag. Will we see a similar level of attrition today? We're not that far off at the moment. 13 runners left in this Grand Prix. So many retirements, a lot of them happening within a short space of time. We lost our bearings up here in the commentary box. There are 13 runners left. Alex Lynn at the head of the field ahead of Antonio Fuoco. Jose Maria Lopez still holding on to P3 ahead of Will Power, the battle raging on between those two. Alexander Rossi in P5 ahead of Alan McNish in the Coloni. Winkelhock in the Eurobrun is in 7th ahead of Adrian Suttel, trying to make up for lost time earlier on in this race. And then Mike Conway fending off the attentions of Christian Lundgaard for P9 and P10. Just outside the point, Sergio Sette Camera, he's not too far off the back of that particular battle. Sergei Sorokin, the last of the unlapped runners at the moment, and then Giorgio Pantano in the Fomitel, bringing up the rear of the field. And there is Giorgio Pantano actually, about to have another lap put on him by Jose Maria Lopez and Will Power.
Antonio Fuoco is 2nd place. He is losing a bit more ground actually on Lynn. Lynn's the fastest man out on... He's the fastest man on circuit at the moment. He was a 10th quicker than Fuoco on the last lap before the one they've just done. McNish, I need to see what the gap between McNish and Rossi is, whether McNish is closing in on Rossi. The gap is currently 4.6 seconds, and we'll find out when they go through the next sector, which will be, I believe, at the start finish line. Giorgio Pantano just getting out of the way of Lopez, and we'll soon need to get out of the way of Will Power very, very soon, and he does so into the Adelaide hairpin, and the Leighton House goes through. And Rossi's gap to McNish is now 4.8 actually, so Rossi is putting out more of a gap than McNish is closing on him.
So Alexander Rossi, he has very much had the speed this season, but not so much the luck. He won the Yongam Grand Prix earlier on in the season, which gave him the lead of the championship at the time, but then failed to score for the next 2 Grand Prix after that. His next score was at the Kyalami Grand Prix, where he took 4th position. Follow that up with a 9th in Istanbul, then a retirement in Birmingham, and an 8th place at the last round in Imola, currently on for 5th here today. So Rossi, not quite as high up in the championship as he could be. He's been one of the fastest drivers in the championship, but hasn't really got all of the finishes that he would have liked. Can he do anything with his 5th position today? He's 19 seconds behind the battle between Jose Maria Lopez and Will Power, so 5th may be the best he can hope for in this race today. We've got a little bit of a discussion going on in the YouTube live chats here, Tom, about basically it's Magny-Cours versus Paul Ricard, and well, if it was down to me, and Winkelhock's going off. Now, is that a driver error, or is there a problem there? It looked like he was already wide going into the corner, so I wonder if that's mechanical.
Yeah, he already had a problem. Yeah, he already had a problem before he went into the chicane, so something was wrong with that. So I wonder if he had a suspension issue or something when he went across the chicane there. Lundgaard's in the pits as well for Coloni.
So Lundgaard coming in for his 2nd scheduled pit stop. That should see him through to the end of the Grand Prix. Marcus Winkelhock becomes yet another retirement from the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. We're down to 12 runners here in France. Alex Lynn into the pits, as well as Antonio Fuoco.
So Lynn in the pits. You can just see Fuoco coming in as well. Can Lynn get out before the live car gets in there? No, he has to wait. I'm sure that won't cost him too much. Fuoco coming in. His final stop. He most certainly go to the end of the race with that amount of fuel. And Lynn comes out in 3rd place behind World Power. So Jose Maria Lopez, for the time being, leads the Magny-Cours Grand Prix.
And crucially for Alex Lynn, he has the space to work with. He is on course for a victory in only his 3rd outing in the Grand Prix World Series. He has the clear air on fresh tyres. All he needs to do now is just wait until the 2 in front of him pit, and he will be back into the lead of the Grand Prix. There he is, P3 at the moment, the net lead of the race, and this has been an absolutely stellar drive so far from Lynn. Brought into the HRT team as a replacement for Dario Franchitti, who we felt at the time, Tom, was a little bit unfairly replaced. But Alex Lynn vindicating that decision by John Munro now, and this has been a stellar performance from the Englishman.
It most certainly has, and Lynn on course for his 1st victory in the Grand Prix World Series. I'm trying to think, how many winners have we had? Oh, is that Lopez in trouble? Or is that just me? No, that's just me. I thought there was
I think we're getting a little bit paranoid here, Tom. All the retirements we had.
I'm going very well. I am autistic after all, so yeah, that's just me. I think that may have been the stream just lagging a little bit for me there, but yeah, Lopez carrying on his way. Ignore what I've said there. So,
and don't forget, folks, we do proudly support the National Autistic Society. They are an amazing group of people who do strong work to help those who do have autism. So make sure you support the work that they do. They are a proud partner of Downforce Radio and of the Grand Prix World Series and of the Retro Racing Managers League. So give them your support. They're a great bunch of people. Now, going back to what I was saying about the YouTube live chat before, I was rather rudely interrupted by Marcus Fingelhut's retirement. A little bit of a day being interrupted again. Suspension failure for Alan McNish, and we are down to 11. The Scuderia Colony pulls off. It's the front right, as you can see there. The suspension not where it should be. Alan McNish out of the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Tom, 11 runners left. How many are we going to have by the end of the race?
We've still got 19 laps remaining, and yeah, I'm not 100% sure at this rate. Jose Maria Lopez continuing to lead for a few more laps at least, but when will he be pitting in? I can't even actually remember who was supposed to be coming as the one-stoppers. I think Lundgaard was one of the one-stoppers, wasn't he?
Lundgaard came in for an early second pit stop, did he not? I think he pitted earlier on as well, and he's making an attack now on Mike Conway. He gets the move done down the inside, and he's up into P8. So both on course for what will be some much-needed points for both Coloni and for Real. And that's a fantastic move there from Christian Lundgaard. He's been very racy today, fighting with Sorokin earlier on, and now forcing his way past Mike Conway. 8th position for Lundgaard, and that might well have been in response to his teammate Alan McNish dropping out of the race, because he now knows that Coloni needs to score as many points as possible here today.
So if you're von Mattel, you are one place away from a point scoring position, and if you're Ed Spencer, you are currently in a point scoring position. And Sergei Sorokin hasn't scored a point yet in the Grand Prix World Series. And one point I was going to go on, Topher, was how many different race winners have we had in the history of the Grand Prix World Series?
Well, let's talk about that in a moment, because here is a crucial battle between the pit crews, between Jose Maria Lopez and Will Power, both into the pits at the same time. So it is HRT versus Leighton House within the pit stops. We're riding on board with Alex Lynn at the moment. We will keep an eye on the graphics to see who gets out in front of the other. Fuoco goes through into second position. It looks like they will definitely be your top two in this race. Looking at the graphics to see when they come out, as Alexander Rossi also into pits, as well as Giorgio Pantano out to P11. Now Lopez and Power both back out onto the circuit, and it's as you were between those two. Lopez holding on to P3 ahead of Leighton House, but that battle is not yet over, is it?
Yeah, Rossi in the pits, but I'm sure he'll be safe from 6th position. That is Sergio Sette Camera. I think he's yet to make a final pit stop as well, so Rossi should be absolutely fine with where he is. He's just crossed the line, the start finish line, before Sergio Sette Camera did. So Rossi in a safe 5th position. Just needs to get to the end now and get some good points for the Larisse team. They really need this result.
Now, I'm going to try and bring up the points that I was trying to bring up earlier, Tom, before being interrupted 2 consecutive occasions on this. Because I want to get your opinion about it as well, Tom. There's been a bit of a discussion going on in the YouTube live chat about Magny-Cours versus Paul Ricard and which is the better track. I've always been a bit more of a fan of Magny-Cours myself, although admittedly that's more for aesthetic purposes, because I'm not really a big fan of the blue and red stripes that adorn the run-off areas. What's your opinion on that one, Tom?
I mean, it's Magny-Cours, but I think the Paul Ricard circuit has its gems that Magny-Cours doesn't necessarily have, and that's overtaking spots on the circuit, particularly the Mistral Straights, of which we do see Formula 1 cars nowadays make the overtake, particularly Max Verstappen's been on Lewis Hamilton on the penultimate lap of the French Grand Prix recently. But Magny-Cours will be the destination to host the Grand Prix at, and I'm hoping that Formula 1 does go back there soon. I think the only thing I'd say is probably because of how narrow the track is, a bit like Imola, as Sette Camera comes in for his final stop.
Well, another thing that goes against Magny-Cours in the real-life world of Formula 1 is its location, actually. Because it has a similar problem to Paul Ricard in that there aren't actually that many roads that access the circuit. I think it's only one road in and one road out of the circuit, making it a little bit difficult for fans to get to, especially in the rush hour of the morning of the Grand Prix, Paul Ricard, known to have a similar problem as well, very famously documented back in the first edition of the modern Paul Ricard Grand Prix that we had. Is it 2018 or 2019? Tom, I'm trying to remember what was the first year we went back there.
2018.
2018, thank you. But yeah, it was quite famously documented how poor the accessibility to the circuit was. But there was the exact same problem for Magny-Cours as well. So maybe something that French circuit builders need to think about if they have any more future Formula One circuits within its French borders. Gemma Dixon in the YouTube live chat agreeing with me that she can't stand the paint job of Paul Ricard. And, well, Chris Cavaney saying neither track. He thinks both are terrible. So we've got quite a few different opinions going on. Andrew Sampson likes the Magny-Cours circuit. I like the Magny-Cours circuit personally. Although I think Magny-Cours is one of those circuits where it's fun as a driver. It's fun to drive. But when it comes to racing, there aren't really that many overtaking opportunities.
No, there isn't. But, you know, if someone was to go back there and we've got DRS, you'd know where they would put it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. On the run down to the Adelaide hairpin. Where else?
Yeah, and in the current configuration, it's the last, the braking, it's the last braking spot before the lap finishes. You know where Jarno Trulli pulled off the last lap, Rubens Barrichello pulled off that last lap overtake on Jarno Trulli in 2004.
Yes, and that was a catalyst for Jarno Trulli eventually being fired from the Renault team in rather unceremonious circumstances with himself and Flavio Briatore. So the Briatore not at all happy with Trulli losing out on that podium at the final corner of the final lap, and knowing full well what Flavio Briatore is like, who can blame him?
So we've just seen Sese Camara overtaking Conway after making his last stop. He's now up to what I believe is 8th place. He's Alex Lynn, you can see in your picture. Settling down actually now. He's just knowing that he just needs to bring the car home. I don't know if he is secure in the knowledge of actually how many cars there are left. You can see Lopez in 3rd place, on course for another podium in the Eurobron. I'm just trying to think how many podium finishes that Lopez has had this season. Lopez so far has picked up 4 podiums.
It has been a very good season so far for the Argentine driver, on course to make it a 5th today. He's got himself a little bit of a gap now to Will Power behind. That gap is 1.2 seconds. Power may be holding off for an attack later on in this race. Andrew Sampson mentioning in the YouTube live chat, go to Le Mans instead. And I will say that's not the full Le Mans circuit with the Mulsanne straight and everything. That is the Bugatti version of the Le Mans circuit. And not a bad shout actually, Tom. It might be something that the RRML will have a look at for future seasons. The Season 3 calendar has been announced and Magny-Cours is back on the calendar again, but given that we're having a race with, let's say, limited overtaking opportunities, might the Bugatti layout of Le Mans be featured as a replacement?
I don't think so. I just think the track is too narrow for the Grand Prix World Series cars. But one thing will go on to Topher, you know the fact we've got 16 races on the calendar for next season, should a consideration of maybe expanding it maybe an option? Because I think we're at this phase where we're going through like a try and error of which circuits are the best for the Grand Prix World Series and which aren't. But we know there are circuits that can host races. I was just wondering, for the sake of expanding the championship and therefore over the course of the season expanding, like with that we do 1 round per week, would we expand it, another week or 2?
I mean, it's definitely something that the RRML admin can have a chat about. As Lundgaard cutting across Sergio Sette Camara there. Lundgaard's up into 7th position now. We've been talking about what might be the best circuit for the French version of the Grand Prix World Series, but we haven't seen a Lundgaard now up into 7th position, having a fantastic drive here today. Gemma Dixon will be very happy with the progress that her new Dane driver is making. We are on lap 43 out of 54, getting to the closing stages of the League 2 race. Alex Lynn 10.6 seconds ahead of Antonio Fuoco. Jose Maria Lopez still ahead of Will Power. He's got the gap up to 1.3 now between those two. Alexander Rossi P5 ahead of Adrian Sutil, who's up from last to 6th. A great drive so far from the German driver who wants to win the title this season. He's very much in contention to do so. Christian Lundgaard P7 ahead of Sergio Sette Camara. Mike Conway on for 2 points for the Real team in 9th, and Sergei Sorokin rounding out the top 10 with 1 point to his name as it stands. Pantano, the last of the runners. Is there going to be any more attrition in this race, Tom? We had half the fields go out in the first half of the race. Quite literally, lap 27, we had 13 cars out. I do hope that we get some finishes, and it looks like we are going to, but I don't feel like this race is over just yet.
The drivers are on course for their first points in the Grand Prix World Series. Christian Lundgaard and Sergei Sorokin. Giorgio Pantano, the last of the runners in 11th. He could potentially put himself into 10th place, and, you know, they'll probably think, I've got a feeling there'll be at least one more car that'll drop out before the end.
I don't want to say too much, Tommy. You know what people think of the commentator's curse, jinx, whatever you want to call it. We might well get some more retirements in this race. We had a whole array of them earlier on. We had about 7 cars retiring within 5 minutes of each other. Such was the chaos that's going on. Let's have a quick reminder of who has retired from this race. The first of them, Brendan Hartley, having an accident earlier on, losing one of his wheels while trying to recover back onto the circuit. Pierre Cachaneves, his engine caught fire. Lucas Di Grassi, his transmission packed in. Valentino Rossi taken out by Jack Aitken, who now picks up a 1-race ban for his move on Valentino Rossi earlier on. Callum Ilott and Will Stevens, both their gearboxes packed in. Jerome D'Ambrosio falling out of the race with an engine problem. Then Jack Aitken, he had his own accident later on. Rino Sato and Gaston Mazzacani and Sam Bird all having engine trouble within a few minutes of each other. Scott Speed's suspension collapsed. Oliver Turvey's engine went. Marcus Fingerhock's gearbox went. And our latest retirement, Alan McNish, his suspension also giving way. 11 runners left in the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Alex Lynn still at the head of the field as we have 10 laps left to run in the League 2 race. And oh, we've got another one there, Tom. It's Sergio Sette Camara.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Sergio Sette Camara just overtaken Lundgaard into the Adelaide Hairpin for 7th place, and now his engine's packed in. No points for Pacific in the Magny-Cours Grand Prix.
Well, you did call it, Tom. One more retirement in this race. It has just happened, but is that going to be the last one? He's right in the way of one of the HRTs here. Trying to figure out which one that is. This is Alex Lynn, not getting out of the way straight away and giving his helmet rather a face full of smoke there. Was Sergio Sette Camara. He needs to get off the track as soon as possible. The words were had with some of the drivers earlier on in the season, Tom, that if your engine's packing in, you need to get off to the side of the circuit as soon as possible. They did get better for it, but today, not really happening. They're taking a bit of a while to get off the circuit, maybe just trying to find the best place to get back to the pits. It's a long old walk from the Adelaide hairpin back down to the pits.
Well, what I was going to say was 54 laps. You need to complete at least 48 to be classified. I think that's what Sette Camara might be thinking about.
That is a very good point, Tom. 90% race distance will give you classification in this race, and don't forget you have to be classified to score points. And there we go, Sette Camara off to the side of the circuit. 10 runners left in the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Giorgio Pantano's on for a point here, Tom.
Yep. So 3 drivers on course for their first points in the Grand Prix World Series.
This has been an absolute barnstormer of a Grand Prix, not necessarily for the right reasons. We love to see as many cars on the track as possible, fighting for position, fighting for victories, fighting for points. But with 10 runners left, providing all of the remaining runners can get to the end of lap 48 in the top 10 and still in the race, they will be classified and score points. But Alex Lynn, he's lost a bit of ground here to Antonio Fuoco as a result of being stuck behind Sergio Sette Camara, but quite comfortable still. I don't think there'll be any cause for concern on the HRT paddock. Maybe a little bit concerned with the amount of attrition that we're getting at the moment. We are 8 laps away from the end of the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. How many more retirements are we going to get? We really hope that every one of these last 10 runners gets to the end. We want to see them all score points, and it will be some much needed points for the likes of Real, Force India and Fonmetal. They've not really got themselves onto the scoreboard as often as they'd like to this season, but they have a good chance to bring home some points here today.
So the gap down to 9.5 seconds between them. He's getting stuck behind the colonia of Christian Lundgaard. Now, Lundgaard won't want to be involved in any shenanigans here. He just needs to be sensible and let Lynn through. Now, how far is Lynn off Lundgaard? I think probably the Adelaide hairpin will be where he gets by. And Antonio Franco, has he got the gap down even more by the end of this lap? Yes, he has. 9.3 seconds is the margin.
Now, I'm looking at the gap here between Jose Maria Lopez and Will Power. It was about 1.4 earlier on. Power's now got the gap down to what was a second just a moment ago. It's now 1.1 seconds. So Power getting back into his stride a little bit more, trying to get up to the back of that Eurobrun to steal away a podium here. Leighton House at the head of constructors standings at the moment and very much on course for promotion into League One at the end of the season. Eurobrun 5th in the standings at the moment, and they will want to take as many points as possible. And don't forget, Jose Maria Lopez, one of the dark horses for the championship in the drivers actually. He hasn't won a race yet this season, but on course for his 5th podium of the season should he stay ahead of Will Power. And just quietly going about his business and getting a job done, but that could pay dividends when we get to the end of the season.
Broco in second place right now. 9.3 seconds is still the margin between him and Lynn. The gap is just stagnating at the moment. Lopez 1.2 ahead of Will Power. He's doing a fine job of keeping hold of that final podium spot. And I don't know how Chris Kavanagh would feel at this point. He'd just be happy to get some points given how this race has gone for all the teams.
Well, Chris Kavanagh, he said to me they were on earlier on in the season, his only aim for this season is to get promotion into League One. He doesn't mind too much about titles. I mean, obviously he'll take them if they come his way, but his one and only aim is promotion into League One. They are very comfortable at the head of the field in the team standings at the moment. So Chris Kavanagh, I think he could be very happy with the progress that his team has made this season. They started off the season with Alexander Wurz and Robert Wickens in the season. They had some fairly solid results between them, some good points finishes. But Chris Kavanagh thinking more about getting promotion and ensuring that he gets up into League One in Season 3. So deciding to make a double switch out, he brought on board Will Power and Ilya Kashineves, and they are both race winners already this season. So a very good choice to change those drivers there from Chris Kavanagh, and it is paying off as he's at the head of the table and very much on course for that promotion that he desires out of this season. I've just been doing a quick tot up of the points here, Tom. If it finishes as it is at the moment, we will have a tie at the top of the standings between Marino Sato and Adrian Sutil. Sutil will be ahead on countback by virtue of 2 wins to 1, but they will both be on 91 points each, and then 1 point behind them in third would be Jose Maria Lopez with 90 points. So 1 point covering the top 3 at the end of this race should it finish as it is now.
This is going in for a barnstorming finish to the season. I mean, League 2 Drivers' Championship, all of a sudden, it just seems to have passed me, Topher. I've sort of keeping more on track with how the teams are doing rather than the drivers, but the drivers' title is a drivers' title, isn't it? And it'd be a fantastic way to get the likes of Marino Sato and Adrian Sutil into the market, because there'll be teams out there who'll be interested, but the managers who occupy them at this current moment, they are first choice.
So I'm now looking at the team standings, just putting a quick calculation together on this. Leighton House will still be leading the team's championship with 208 points. I think they will be the first team across both championships to get to the 200 point mark. Life will have 174, HRT will have 167, LaRousse will have 133, and Eurobrun will have 121. So HRT breaking away a little bit from LaRousse and Eurobrun as a result of Alex Lynn here, should he go the distance and get to the end and bring home what I think will be the full 27 points actually, because Alex Lynn, he started on pole, so there's 1 point there. And I'm pretty sure he has the fastest lap as well, Tom, so if he goes to the end, as he looks like he's on course to do, that will be 27 points for Alex Lynn and 27 points for HRT, which will be crucial as they chase promotion.
Right on board with Alex Lynn, and you touching on what you're saying about the team standings. I mean, Leighton House, they would bridge the gap over 4th place LaRousse by a little bit, wouldn't they? So they're very much on course to get promotion this season, there's no doubt about it. If you consider how much each team would need to get, on average, outscoring their rivals, it's going to be pretty much realistically impossible for Leighton House to not get promotion.
So Andrew Sampson is asking in the YouTube live chat, is there any team that still has 2 drivers running in this race? I think HRT is the only one. We've got Alex Lynn in the lead and Sutil in 6th. So Antonio Fuoco is the only life car left in this race. Lopez is the only Eurobrun. Will Power's the only Leighton House. Rossi's the only LaRousse. Lundgaard is the only Coloni left. Conway's the only Real. Then Sorokin for Force India and Panto Fomital. So yeah, HRT. I'm a little bit struggling to believe that, Tom, just for a simple reason that John Munro has very much gone in the way of power with his upgrades this season. So Mike Conway getting out of the way of Antonio Fuoco, well, not quite there. Fuoco now powering past the pit lap on Conway. But John Munro is one of those team managers who puts a lot more of his budget into the power and not so much into reliability, and yet he's now on course to win the race with both of his cars in the points.
Yeah, and it's been a good day for John Munro getting those points actually. Lynn's got the fastest lap at this moment of time as far as we know, as well as getting pole position. So he would get 27 points, Sutterfield would get 8 to go with it, so that's 35 points overall from the ground for John Munro, which will do for him very, very, very nicely.
And Andrew Sampson also saying that Alex has it all linked up today. I mean, I enjoy a pun as much as the next guy, but yeah, come on. Alex Lynn leading the race by 10.3 seconds. We are on lap 53 out of 54. Alex Lynn is a lap and 2 sectors away from what will be a tremendous likes to flag victory here today. It won't be the Grand Slam for the English driver. Through the pit stop phase, we had Jose Maria Lopez assume the lead for a few laps, but I'm sure that John Munro and Alex Lynn won't care too much about a Grand Slam. He is about to take home maximum points for the victory here today, and Adrian Sutil bringing home 8 points himself for the HRT team. That will be a total of 35 for the team. Very important if they are going to get promotion into League One for Season 3. Antonio Fuoco here in P2, he will be happy with today's work, bringing home 18 points for himself. And then Jose Maria Lopez and Will Power, the gap between them 1.2 seconds. That fight is not done just yet. We're about to start the last lap, but one feels that Will Power might just be saving his energy reserves for a last lap assault on the Argentine.
It's probably too far back, to be honest with you. We've seen how difficult it's been to overtake at Magny-Cours. Just see the HRT going on to his last lap. Alex Lynn, there's still Dario's name on the side pod. I'm sure you would want to update that, Topher, for the next round in Hockenheim. But he's doing a really fine job, is Mr. Lynn, on course for his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory. Fuoco can't do anything about it, but I'm sure second place won't do him any harm whatsoever.
Well, funny enough, John Munro said that Alex gets his name on the side of the car when he wins a Grand Prix. Well, he's about to do that, so I think we can safely say that from the next round, which will be a Hockenheim, Alex Lynn will have his name on the side of the car. He has proven himself to the HRT team. He's only a few corners away from victory here. I don't think we're going to get any more attrition issues. He's just nursing the car, coasting through the corners. He's only got 3 corners left to go now between himself and his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory. And what a drive this has been from the Englishman in only his 3rd appearance in the series. He comes out of the final corner, gets the power down and blasts towards the line. What a drive this has been. Alex Lynn wins the League 2 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. What a result that is for John Munro, for HRT and for the team. And Tom, what can you say about that?
Lynn, unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable from start to finish. He absolutely deserved it from lights out. And Antonio Fuoco happy to be finishing second, and Jose Maria Lopez picking up his 5th podium in the Eurobrun. Excellent job from him. Sergei Sorokin getting a couple of points for Force India. He's 1st in the Grand Prix World Series. Alex Rossi getting some points for LaRousse. At least it's something for Will Knight to take from this race. Christian Lundgaard picking up his 1st points in the Grand Prix World Series in 7th. Giorgio Pantano about to get his 1st points in the Grand Prix World Series. It's the 1st point actually for Von Mattel since the Adelaide. Oh no, it was since Malaysia, wasn't it? Because Dimata got those points for Adrian Sutil from the back of the field to 6th. Excellent job from him.
It's been a fantastic day for HRT. What could they have achieved without Sutil dropping to the back of the field earlier on? Here's your official race results. Alex Lynn wins for HRT in only his 3rd outing in the Grand Prix World Series. Antonio Fuoco 2nd ahead of Jose Maria Lopez, who did hold off Will Power for the final podium spot. Alexander Rossi, P5 him, and Adrian Sutil from the back to P6. What a drive by him. A good day for HRT. 35 points for them. Christian Lundgaard, his first points of the season with 7th place, ahead of Mike Conway in the Real in 8th. Some needed points there for Ed Hunter. Sergei Sorokin and Giorgio Panto pick up their first points of the season in 9th and 10th. 11th place, and actually not 11th place, retirements I should say. A long list here. Sergio Sette Camera, Alan McNish, Marcus Finkelhock, Oliver Turvey, Scott Speed, Sam Bird, Gaston Mazzucani, Marino Sato, Jack Aitken, Jerome D'Ambrosio, Will Stevens, Callum Ilott, Valentino Rossi, Lucas Degrassi, Hirokashi Neves and Brendan Hartley. Try saying that all in one breath. Alex Lynn takes the fastest lap as well, so a full 27 points there for Alex Lynn today. What a performance that was by him, Tom. I mean, we've already said enough superlatives to describe that drive. I don't think we can really say much more than that.
No, and Alex Lynn becomes race winner number 17 of the season in the Grand Prix World Series, and we've still got another race to come later today. Could we have our 18th?
So, by John Monroe's promise, Alex Lynn will have his name on the side pod of his car at the next race, and he fully deserves it after that. The next race being in Hockenheim, and Tobias Wirtz asking in the YouTube live chats, is it a classic Hockenheim? Yes, it is. We are doing the full Hockenheim layout, the old style blast through the trees, blast through the forest, round the Ost curve. It's going to be an absolute cracking race where power is going to be crucial to get the speed out of the car, but also will reliability play a part? It can be a little bit of a circuit breaker. But before that, we still have one more race to bring you today, which is the League One action here from Magny-Cours. We're going to take a quick break, but make sure you stay tuned and see you for the League One race. See you then.
Ah, what music!
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy. Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm, tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when you run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it. Those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darren Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. And racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back for the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. We had a fantastic League 2 race, won by Alex Lynn, his maiden victory in the Grand Prix World Series. What a performance that was, and we are excited for more of the same in the League 1 race. Hopefully not the same level of attrition as we had in the League 2 race. Only 10 cars making it to the end. Hopefully this time around we will see a lot more finishes. And Tom, if you look at the differences between the updates that both leagues have put in, the League 2 teams have been a lot more towards the side of power as far as the upgrades have gone. But in League 1, they've been a lot more about reliability. So I am expecting some more finishes out of this one.
I should think so too. But we've seen some races this season with the likes of Simtech, even with, I think even with Super Aguri, although Super Aguri have had a lot of good results along the way. Just looking at other teams who have had, in terms of reliability go against them. I mean, BAR are another one. Manor as well, Prost, Midland, Minardi, MasterCard Lola, 40. I mean, anything can happen in today's race. I mean, to be honest, it's just a matter of survival of the fittest, I think, for this one.
Absolutely. Anything can happen within the Grand Prix World Series, and it usually does. Before we get on to the action, we have one driver change to notify you of for this one. Manor has decided to bring in Romain Grosjean into League 1. The Frenchman racing for Pacific in League 2 earlier on this year, and actually taking a victory in the earlier parts of the year. It was at the Sepang Grand Prix where Romain Grosjean was victorious. He was then dropped from the team after the young driver test, and it is now Sergio Sette Camara and Brendan Hartley of that team. Sam Hall then taking a decision to drop Alex Albon and bring in Romain Grosjean in his place. Tom, your thoughts on this one?
I can't complain. I mean, Grosjean's a good driver, and his victory in Sepang earlier in the season exemplified it. I was a little bit surprised that Carter McColdon decided to drop him, actually, but it's an opportunity for him to shine. And given Andretti's recent form as well in the Manor, they're very much going places. And can they reach the heights of maybe the top 3 or top 4 by the end of the season? We'll soon find out by the time we do get to Laguna Seca.
Well, earlier on in the season, Manor was fighting against relegation, and in some ways they still are. We still have 7 races left to go in League 1. But Manor, now up in 8th place in the standings. Marco Andretti bringing home some good results for them in the last 3 races. Can Romain Grosjean add to that and pick up some points, or maybe even more on his debut for Manor? We will find out. But before we head down to the grid, let's have a quick look at the standings. Nico Hulkenberg, 6 points advantage over Antonio Felix da Costa. Hulkenberg, multiple podiums and a victory this season, and very much in contention for the championship with that 6-point advantage. Andre Lotterer up there in P3, his victory in Fuji propelling him into contention as we wind down towards the end of the season. Sebastien Buemi, he won last time out in Imola. That's put him up into 4th in the championship on the same number of points as Kevin Magnussen and Robin Freins. It is so close between these drivers. And we've got Stoffel Van Dorn and Scott Dixon, both Simtex on 64 points each, but either of them could go away from Magny-Cours today as the championship leader. And Tom, it's so competitive. It's just as competitive in League 1 as it is in League 2. And any of the top 8 can go away from this race leading the championship. I think Simtech looking very good at the moment as they have both cars on the front row.
They do, but we've seen before, and neither car getting to the end of the race at Imola last time out after a front row start, I believe. And they really do need to get something from this race, don't they?
Marco Andretti up there into top 10 in the standings with 47 points, 3 points finishes in a row for the American. Sam Hall will be very happy with the results that he's put in so far. What can Grosjean do in the other manner? It's going to be very interesting as we look towards who's going to get relegated down into League 2 at the end of the season. In the team standings, Super Guri still holds an advantage over Simtech of 14 points, 148 to 134. Onyx a further 2 points behind on 132, and Arrows a further 4 points behind on 128. Tom, we have 6 teams that are past the 100 points mark, and it's so competitive. We keep saying it, Tom, but it's just that competitive that we're getting so excited about. And look at the gap. It's less than 2 race wins between 1st and 6th.
The maximum number of points for a team to score in a round in the Grand Prix World Series is 45. And any one of the top 5 could lead the championship. And even though BMS Scuderia Italia can't lead off this round, they most certainly can try and get closer to the likes of Super Guri and Simtech. And considering what we had in League 2 earlier on, they could well do it.
So BAR up there on 89 points now, virtue of Sebastien Buemi's victory last time out in Imola. Manor on 53, getting themselves above the relegation zone and fighting to stay there. Midland on 38 and Minardi on 32. Currently in the relegation zone and hoping to score some decent points today. Prost, Forti Corsi and Mastercard Lola. I think Lola pretty much writing off this season already. Only 5 points to his name. Virtue of 1 10th place for Simona Di Silvestro and 1 8th place finish for Tatiana Calderon. Now, Tom, shall we head down to trackside and get this race started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it indeed. It is a Simtech 1-2 on the grid. Scott Dixon, yet another pole position. That is his 4th in a row, ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn. And Kevin Magnussen doing well in P3 ahead of Robin Freins. Antonio Felix da Costa and Pascal Wehrlein make up row 3, ahead of Sebastian Bourdais and Kazuki Nakajima. It is an all Onyx row 4. Row 5, our winner last time out, Sebastien Buemi, ahead of Andre Lotterer in P10. The other BMS Scuderia Italia of Nelson Piquet Jr. on row 6 alongside Nick de Vries in 12th. Championship leader Nico Hulkenberg in 13th ahead of Marco Andretti. Kamui Kobayashi and Romain Grosjean his first time in League 1 in the Grand Prix World Series. They make up row 8 ahead of row 9 of Roy Nassani and Paul Di Resta, 17th and 18th for them. Danny Juncadella in a Minardi is in 10th, is on row 10, ahead of the Prost of Jaime Alguersuari. Then row 11 is made up of Thiago Montero and Marco Wittmann. He needs a result here today in the Prost. Needs to at least get to the end of a race. Tom Christensen is on row 12 alongside Simona Di Silvestro. And on the back row, Tatiana Calderon and Mika Salo. We're heading down to trackside now for the start of the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. It's an all Simtech front row. But as we know, Tom, they're not necessarily the most reliable outfit.
They're not, and a good start is a key ingredient to getting a good result here, as we saw in the League 2 race earlier on. Who will make the best of starts? Will it be Dixon, Van Dorn, Magnussen, Freins? How many will get to the checkered flag?
And we are off and away for the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Dixon getting a good start from pole position. Van Dorn looks like he's going to hold on to second position. Lotterer trying to fight his way through a few positions there. From his starting position of 10th, he actually drops down to 11th behind his teammate Nelson Piquet Jr., but Scott Dixon holds on to the lead out of turn 3 and on the run down to the Adelaide hairpin. Stoffel Van Dorn holding on second, and he's coming under attack from Kevin Magnussen. We might get a few overtakes down into the hairpin on the opening lap as the whole field is bunched up here. We've got Da Costa looking down the inside of his teammate Fraines there. Dixon holds the lead through the hairpin, and we have got a bit of argy-bargy down there. I think that's Sebastien Buemi. We've got a lot of carbon fibre flying there, and Sebastien Buemi's lost both of his wings there. We ride on board now with the Swiss driver. He's been caught right in the middle of that. So I'm waiting to see what has gone on. He's been hit up the back. Not sure who by, which has put him up to the back of Pascal Wehrlein. So we're now getting the rear face view. It looks like it's going to be one of BMS Scuderia Italia's. But which one? It's Nelson Piquet Jr. who goes into the back of Buemi there. And Buemi now having to go into the pits to get double repairs. His front wing is gone and his rear wing is gone. And does Piquet have any damage as well? He's about to go past Buemi. It looks like Piquet somehow has got away with that.
I wonder if Piquet got a nudge by the other BAR of Nick de Vries going into the Adelaide hairpin, which had caused...
Oh my goodness! And Buemi's just been taken out there. I think that might have been Romain Grosjean who'd done that. He's one of the manners. That was Marco Andretti. My apologies, Romain. Yeah, he's just gone down the inside of Buemi and taken out the Swiss driver. The wheels have fallen off the wagon of that BAR now. And is that a case of Andretti going in too hot or Buemi not getting out of the way?
I think that's more Buemi not getting out of the way, to be honest with you. I don't think there was too much that Andretti could have done. Buemi knew he had the damage in the first place, and I don't think there was an awful lot that Andretti could do on that one, so I would put that down as a racing incident.
I think the turn 1 incident will be put down as a racing incident as well. We had the same sorts of incidents in the League 2 race. Will Stevens up the back of Adrian Sutton on that particular occasion. That was put down by the stewards as a lap 1 incident. It happens in the Grand Prix World Series. Scott Dixon 1.2 seconds ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn now. Kevin Magnussen in P3 and Robin Fraines getting down the inside of Kazuki Nakajima there. So Nakajima had an absolutely flying start going from 8th up into 4th, but now losing ground to Fraines in the Super Aguri. Maybe not quite having the race pace that the Super Aguri does. Lots of people enjoying the opening lap in the YouTube live chat. Sam Hall enjoying the fact that Grosjean's in the top 10 already. Andrew Sampson saying Nelson Piquet Jr. causing a crash. His teammate better not win. Well, that's a little bit under the collar, I think. Reference to Piquet's Renault days back in the early noughties in the real life world of Formula 1. Scott Woodwis is enjoying Scott Dixon being in the lead of this race, setting a 122.222. I think that lap might be about to be beaten as Dixon comes across the line. It's a 120.020, so still on the patterns there, and I think Scott Woodwis will like the look of that one. Motorsport Mike saying that Sebastien Buemi is now in Formula Ford mode with no front wing and no rear wing. I quite like that comment actually. And Scott Woodwis is saying that he's setting his expectations low for this race, so he will be pleasantly surprised if he wins. I think that's actually quite a good attitude to have when you have a car that is as fast as a Syntec is, but not necessarily as reliable as it could be. As De Vries down the inside of Grosjean.
No, Grosjean was rather slow going into the Adelaide hairpin there. Has he got a problem of some sort? Because De Vries went by him rather easily.
Well, let's hope not. This is Grosjean's first time in the League 1 edition of the Grand Prix World Series. A top 10 would be very welcome for a Frenchman to show that he does have what it takes to compete at this level, but we still have a long way to go. It is only lap 3 out of 54. A lot can happen, as we saw in the League 2 race. Only 10 finishers in that race. How many are we going to get in the League 1 race? We'll find out across the course of the race. Dixon leads, Van Dorn second, Magnussen third, Fraines fourth. Magnussen looks like he's coming under a little bit of pressure from Romain Fraines actually. The Dutchman getting up to the back of the AGS at the moment. Then Nakajima is in 5th ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa. Bourdais in 7th ahead of Andre Lotterer. Pascal Wehrlein in 9th and De Vries in 10th.
So just looking at Fraines, can he get into the slipstream of the AGS as they come towards the Adelaide hairpin? Right, Sunny going a little bit too wide there at Estoril, but managed to gather it all together. He's in 13th place actually, a good 13th position actually for 40s. Right, Sunny, he could pick up some useful points for the team who are fighting against relegation. And up ahead of him, I think Grosjean's about to lose place to Nelson Piquet Jr.
He has indeed. So a double overtake that we didn't see on camera there. Frains is past Magnussen into P3 and PK Jr. is past Grosjean into P12. And speaking of Lissani, Tom, he started this race in P17, did the Israeli. Now up into P13, a fantastic opening few laps for the 40 Corsi driver. And if we do get a similar amount of attrition as we saw earlier on today, Lissani may be on course to get some points here today, but still a long way to go. It's still early days out of this 54 lap event. Dixon 3.6 seconds in the lead. He's walking away with this one. Van Dorn possibly playing the team game here and just allowing Dixon to get a lead. Oh, Calderon getting it very wrong there through the chicane. She's trying to hold up the other 40 Corsi of Mika Salo there, and then Simona Di Silvestro making it effectively a sandwich. The 40 Corsi in the meet.
Costa's in trouble.
Da Costa's falling down the order, and that's why he's out of the race. That's surely mechanical there. It's a transmission issue for the Super Aguri, and what a shame there for Da Costa, one of our championship contenders. And that is his third non-score in a row, Tom. His last points finish was at Istanbul, where he came home in P7. He retired in Birmingham after crashing out on his own. He finished 18th in Imola, and he's now retired from the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. That is not the result he needs to get if he's going to go on and win this championship.
Not good for Super Aguri's cause either. You know, Simtek currently 1 and 2 in this race. There's still an awful long way to go yet, but that's not a good sign as Kobayashi makes a move on.
Oh, what's happened there with Pascal Wehrlein? Sorry, Tom. Pascal Wehrlein, his front wing, he must have ridden the curb a little bit awkwardly there because it's ripped his front wing off. So maybe riding the wings a little bit low there, and it's caught them out over the curb. And Pascal Wehrlein taking a forced pit stop here. That was a very strange one. And Wehrlein, he was running up in what I think was P8 at the time, running quite strongly within the points. But now having to come into the pit lane by virtue of his car effectively falling apart across the curbs.
Yep, so that's him into the box. There's not been any fuel in there. We've just seen Robin Frains. Is this going to be an overtake on Stoffel Van Dorn for second place? I think it is, you know.
It is indeed. Robin Frains on an absolute charge at the moment past Stoffel Van Dorn. I wonder if Van Dorn is running heavy and trying a one-stop strategy here today, because Frains made that look fairly easy on a Simtek that is the most powerful on the grid, of Van Dorn falling down as Danny Junkendey are trying to get past one of the Prosts, I think that was. So Junkendey looking very racy there in a Minardi. Came in as a replacement for Tom Christensen earlier on in the season. Scored a point on debut, but points have been a little bit harder to come by more recently for the Minardi driver. Now there is Stoffel Van Dorn. Is he trying that one-stop alternate strategy? We haven't seen his fuel loads yet, but given how much of a power advantage the Simtek has, and as he's falling down the order, I would guess that is a simple reason, Tom. He must be on a heavier fuel load.
Well, let's see, and Kevin Magnussen will be looking to rebound from his error in the last week and get himself some useful points. And for the AGS squad, who have been doing well recently, they could really do with a strong zone. Roy Nissany up to 10th place now.
Fantastic drive so far for the Israeli driver. He came into the series. Just checking my notes. When did he come in? He came in for the Chennai Grand Prix. He was a replacement for Jeff Gordon. That team, he's just cutting off Romain Grosjean there. Roy Nissany came in for the Chennai Grand Prix, finished 5th on debut, and that was not a race of attrition, Tom. That was on pure merit from the Israeli driver, and now putting in another strong drive here today.
Now, one of the drivers who came into the pits earlier on was Nico Hulkenberg. He was nursing a problem, wasn't he?
He was indeed. We didn't quite pick up on what that problem was, but Hulkenberg, who is our championship leader, now down the order and with it all to do, as he faces about 45 or something laps at the back of the field, and he'll try and force his way up through the field where he can. He'll need to get as many points as he can, especially with Robin Frains up there in P2 at the moment, because if it finishes like this, I reckon Robin Frains will take the lead of the championship from Nico Hulkenberg. But of course, we're only on lap 8 out of 54. A lot can still happen within the remaining laps. Scott Dixon 5.9 in the lead now over Robin Frains. Stoffel Van Dorn 7.5 off the lead and falling backwards, possibly due to a heavier fuel load. Kevin Magnussen there in P4. Magnussen, our race winner of the Birmingham Super Prix. Great drive from him earlier on. And Kevin Magnussen, he was set to be dropped from the AGS team earlier on this season, but Phil Kinch decided to give him a second chance. Kevin Magnussen aimed that faith back with his victory in Birmingham and has put in some very strong results in the last few races.
You can see Kobayashi making a move on what looks like Midland of Paul di Resta. He moves up a position, riding well with Marco Wittmann. He's got 2 Minardis behind him, actually. How would you say Marco Wittmann has done in his 2 races so far, plus this one?
Average, to be completely honest with you, Tom. I mean, he's retired out of the first 2 races that he's done, but in the last one, through a complete driver error, he smashed it into the barriers. A really heavy shunt for Wittmann, completely unforced. It was a driver error, so I wouldn't say he's made that much of an impact. Well, not that kind of impact, but you know, I think he's got the potential, does Marco Wittmann. I genuinely do. Just struggling to get the speed out of that Prost. So, well, I think we'll have to see how he does in this race and whether he can actually get to the end of the Grand Prix to see what sort of level he's at the moment. But to be completely fair, and I don't mean this as a slight on you, Tom, being the team principal of Prost, I'm not sure if the car's completely up to it, to be completely honest.
Well, we know the car's not. I mean, it's not anywhere near the pace of what it had last season. Algasrari in 14th place, catching Thiago Monteiro. Now, it may not feel like they're in the points battle for today, but in 40 or so laps time, it could well be as Wittmann losing the place down to the Minardi, it looks like Daniel Juncadella.
So Wittmann now down into P18. We were talking about him, and now he's been going backwards. Now, let's talk about this guy here, Romain Grosjean. He started off life in a Grand Prix World Series with the Pacific team down in League 2. Did a fairly good job. He took a race victory at Sepang, which was only his 2nd appearance. Took a 5th place after that at the next round in Yongam. Then fell scoring points. We've got yellow flags there. What's happened here? It's Stoffel Van Dorn. Van Dorn and Nakajima both showing as out on the graphics. So I wonder if they've come to grief together. We're riding with Van Dorn. And yeah, there's another car in there as well. I reckon that is Nakajima, who's also showing us out on the graphics. So let's get a replay here. And yeah, they've gone in together. So have they collided with each other, or have they gone in independently of each other? We haven't quite caught the right side of the replay there. And I'm gathering from that, Tom, it looked to me like Nakajima is actually a little bit too far behind Van Dorn for there to have been contact between those two. So I'm wondering if they're independent of each other.
Need to see if there was a mechanical issue on either car, and when one of them was pulling off, the others actually tangled with them. So we've lost 2 drivers from that. That promotes Sebastian Bourdais and Andre Lotterer up to 4th and 5th, De Vries 6th, PK Jr. 7th, Ryan Sani 8th place for Forty Corsi, Grosjean 9th and Andretti 10th. So yeah, that does warrant an investigation, does that incident.
So both Manners now into the top 10. We were just talking about Romain Grosjean as Tatiana Calderon, a little bit wide there. Grosjean had a victory and a 5th place to his name in League 2, but failed to score for the next 2 rounds after that, and he was actually replaced at the Pacific team by Brendan Hartley, who, ironically enough, had been dropped by the Manor team. And Carter McCollum decided to pick up Brendan Hartley in Romain Grosjean's place, and now Grosjean has gone the other way. He's gone to Manor in place of Alex Albon, so maybe you can expect to see Alex Albon at Pacific in the near future, if that pattern's anything to go by. Romain Grosjean, he did a fairly solid job in qualifying. He's now up into P9 in this race, but in qualifying he was P16. Where was his teammate? I've lost him in my notes now. Andretti, he started the race in P14, so Grosjean only a 10th off of his teammate in qualifying, and now ahead of him in the race. So I think Sam Hall can be very happy with his signing of Romain Grosjean to the team for this race.
I'm sure he will be. Grosjean doing a really, really good job in the Manor so far. Can he get by the 40 of Ryan Sani? He may be able to do in the pit stops. Dixon's lead, 7.1 seconds. Dixon, we looked on his dash at the beginning of the race. He's definitely doing a 2-stop, so Dixon will be pitting in soon. Needs to try and get out with some clean air though, but he's a few laps away from pitting yet. It's Thiago Monteiro. Has he got a problem? Yes, he has.
Off here. It is Thiago Monteiro. A transmission problem, and he's put it into the barrier as well, caused a bit of damage to the Midland. The team manager Michael Gillespie will not be at all happy with that. That is Thiago Monteiro, our 5th retirement from this race. On lap 11, we've already lost Sebastian Buemi, Antonio Felix da Costa, Kazuki Nakajima, Stoffel Van Dorn, and now Thiago Monteiro, 5 retirements from 12 laps. Not quite the same level we had in the League 2 race earlier on, but hopefully we won't get too many more retirements out of this race. But what about Scott Dixon? He's absolutely walking away with this one. 7.4 seconds ahead of Robin Fraines now, who has dropped Kevin Magnussen as well. A gap between those two, 3.9 seconds. Fraines on for a good haul of points here today. He is in contention for the championship, and this will be a much needed result for the Dutchman. Oh, Danny Jongendaer getting it a bit wrong coming out of the final corner there, but keeping the minority together, and he carries on in 16th position. He was ahead of Marco Wittmann earlier on, Tom, but Wittmann now finding his way back past Jongendaer into P15. Wittmann now trying to get himself on the move again. He's behind the other Minardi of Tom Christensen at the moment. And you can see them in the foreground there. Wittmann trying to get into the slipstream of the Dane there. If we get too much more attrition this race, maybe Wittmann can pick up a point or two out of this race. We still have a long way to go, Tom. Anything can happen.
Yeah, possibly. Alguersuari in 11th place. He's 4 seconds behind Andretti, so he's got a bit of ground to make up actually. He's got a fast charging Kamui Kobayashi over the back of him. Here we go, look. I saw Kobayashi making a move on, I can't remember who, was it Wittmann he made a move on into that 180 degree corner?
So just looking through the order to see what the gaps are at the moment. When Dixon comes in for his first pit stop, we said it's around about 22, 23 seconds for a pit stop, didn't we, Tom?
Yeah, well, I'd say 26 just to be sure, but Dixon, he needs to try and get out. I think as it stands, he may be able to get out in front of Roy Nissany, but that just depends how his pit stop goes.
So we are coming up to the first round of pit stops for the two stoppers very soon. The earliest one in the first race, if I remember correctly, was Christian Lundgaard, who I think came in at the end of lap 13, if I remember that correctly. So we can expect our first stoppers to come through within the next few laps. We're riding on board with Simona Di Silvestro, outside of the top 15 at the moment. So 1 points finished to her name so far this season. And don't forget, she won the Vancouver Grand Prix, the non-championship race we had at the start of the season. It looked like she might be one of the dark horses for the title, but she's now coming under attack from what looks to be Pascal Wehrlein. Came into pits earlier on and is now making up for lost ground as he dispatches the Swiss Miss in the Mastercard Lola. And we're now looking at the other AGS. Kevin Magnussen in P3. What a fine run of form he has enjoyed in the last few races. He has had a couple of retirements, but in the races he hasn't retired from, he picked up a second place at Istanbul and then followed that up with his maiden victory at the Birmingham Super Prix. It's been fantastic form so far for Kevin Magnussen. He's getting himself up there fighting for this championship. We've got so many championship contenders to talk about, Tom. As we said at the start of the broadcast, any of the top 8 can go away from France at the lead of the championship, and this is what we love about the Grand Prix World Series. It's close racing, it's competitive racing.
It is, and looking back on the championship as it stands, Hulkenberg is at the back of the field, Da Costa's not scoring, Lotterer is on course. Where is he at the moment on the leaderboard? Is
P5.
He fourth? He's P5 at the moment, isn't he? 10 points it would be for him, but Robin Fraines' second place would move him into the lead of the championship.
And Fraines yet to win a race this season. His best result is a second place at the Kyalami Grand Prix. He's actually only finished on the podium twice this season, has Fraines. He had that second place in Kyalami and a third place in Chennai. Other than that, it's just been strong points finishes. He's got a fourth place, a fifth place, and 2 sixth places to his name as well. And Fraines into the pits. He's the first of the front runners to come in.
So 23 laps of fuel going in, so we know he's going to be 2-stopping. Now, this is vitally important because where will he feedback out in terms of traffic? Well, the good news for him is that Piquet Jr. and De Vries are in the pits as well. That's 2 less cars he'll need to overtake on track. I think Fraines is going to rejoin behind Alguersuari, I reckon.
Looks like he must come out just ahead of Alguersuari actually, which will be crucial for him. So he will have a bit of clear air behind the manor of Marco Andretti. And someone's pulling off here. I didn't quite see who it was. It's Bourdais. Sebastien Bourdais out of the race. He was our race winner at the Istanbul Grand Prix. His first race back in the Grand Prix World Series, that was. And he took victory, but he's now out in Magny-Cours. It's a shame for the Onyx team and for Ryan Ferris. They were hoping to pick up a good haul of points here today. The other Onyx of Kazuki Nakajima, not in the points either, so not a good day at the moment for Onyx, who are in contention for the League One Teams title. but they're not going to get it done with results like that. Sebastien Bourdais out of the race as Scott Dixon comes in for his first pit stop.
Right, so this is a crucial pit stop in the race here for Dixon. We won't want to get her in too much traffic. Magnussen take the lead of the race. Lotto will go through up to second. I think Brian Nisani may just stay behind Dixon on this occasion. Dixon's lead was 30 seconds on Nisani, so he'll rejoin ahead of him comfortably.
So, Scott Dixon out into P3, but still holding on to the net lead of the race. And there's Pascal Wehrlein in P15, trying to get past the 40 Corsi of Mika Salo, as we have Christensen, Kobayashi and Wittmann all into the pits at the same time. So that pit lane is getting... excuse me. That pit lane is getting very busy at the moment. Here is Scott Dixon, our net race leader. Magnussen and Lotterer in first and second, but still yet to come in for their pit stops. So either of them going on to a one-stop strategy maybe. We didn't really see a lot of one-stoppers in the League 2 race. I think a lot of teams decided to go for the safer bet of a two-stop strategy. As Mika Salo is about to concede 11th position to Pascal Wehrlein, and he does indeed. So Wehrlein up into 11th position there. Of course, we don't know what the exact positions are at the moment as we are going through the pit stop phase at the moment. Here is Kevin Magnussen going on for another lap here as we're about to complete lap 16 out of 54. So Magnussen either going for a one-stop strategy here or going for a longer first stint on a two-stop strategy. And Jaime Alguersuari up there in P8 at the moment. Where is he going to filter out through all of the pit stops when this is all said and done? Because your team, Tom, is looking to fight relegation and get themselves out of the bottom three at the end of the season. So some points for Alguersuari or for Wittmann at the end of this race, I'm sure would be very welcome.
Very welcome indeed, and it just depends how many cars we get to the end. And if we get both cars to the end, I think we've got every chance of scoring points. There's Di Silvestro 14th position ahead of De Vries, who's already pitted, so De Vries will want to dispose her as soon as he can. There's a car in the pits that Hulkenberg who's come in. I think it is actually, yeah.
And that is Hulkenberg's second stop of the race already. He came in earlier on for damage, was forced to repair some bodywork on his car. That is his first scheduled pit stop, so he's now put some fuel into the car and he reassumes last place on track. There are your 6 retirements: Bourdais, Montero, Van Dorn, Nakajima, Da Costa and Buemi. How crucial could that retirement be for Antonio Felix Da Costa? That is his third non-score in a row. It's not great times at the moment for the Super Aguri team. They have got one driver up there, currently in P6, but second as it stands after the pit stops. As Magnussen into the pits, that will be a two-stop strategy then for Magnussen. 22 laps of fuel going on board. Lotterer into the lead. We now wait to find out what strategy he's on.
So can Lotterer go on a longer first stint? Grosjean is in as well for Manor. Magnussen will get out in front of Alguersuari, I think. Silvestro still in front of De Vries. De Vries is losing time behind the MasterCard lows at the moment. Calderon 13th to Silvestro 14th. Are they on an alternate strategy?
It's quite possible. We haven't seen what the fuel loads is yet for Di Silvestro. So, as Jaime Alguersuari is having a look here at Kevin Magnussen. So Magnussen has come into the pits. Alguersuari has not, but Alguersuari finding some speed out of that process at the moment. Magnussen maybe not quite getting the tyres up to temperature just yet. And Rui Nassani's up there in P3 at the moment. He's yet to come into the pits. What strategy is he doing? So it'll be interesting to see what the 40 Corsi driver can do from there. But Jaime Alguersuari finding some good speed out of that process. He powers past Kevin Magnussen, despite Magnussen being on a fresher tyre. So, Tom, you're smiling in here in the comment box, I'm sure of it. Alguersuari getting some good speed out of that car, and I'm sure he will fight with everything he's got for some points here today.
And for the Prost team, especially this way, is their home Grand Prix, remember, so this is an important race for the team. Ryan starting across the line to 22.3 for him, 1.6 seconds slower than Dixon as Andretti pits in from 5th place.
But Alguersuari into pits from 7th, so he now comes in and releases Magnussen back into clear air again. Paul Di Resta also going into pits, as well as Tatiana Calderon. So it looks like pretty much the whole field is on the two-stop strategy. We wait to see what Andre Lotterer here is going to do, sporting a new helmet design. He's updated to his current Formula E helmet, as opposed to the one that he was running back in his F3 days. And Nick De Vries looking to get past Di Silvestro, and the Dutchman's not able to make it work at the moment. He's trying to outbrake Di Silvestro down into the Adelaide hairpin, and he's now done it. He took long enough to get past with De Vries, now getting through past Di Silvestro into P8. PK Jr. was hoping to follow through past Di Silvestro as well, but not able to make the move stick in the BMS Scuderia Italia. And Lotterer now coming into the pit, so Lotterer is on a two-stop strategy like everyone else. Dixon assumes the lead of the race, and Nissany also coming in as well.
So where will Nissany and Lotterer filter back out? Nissany targeting a points finish today. He's doing a really, really good job so far. Lotterer, where will he filter back out?
So we wait to see on the graphic where Lotterer will come out to the pits. Lotterer is another one of our championship contenders. He's P3 in the standings at the moment. He won the Fuji Grand Prix earlier on this season, and he's only 11 points off the lead of Nico Hulkenberg, so a good result from Lotterer could put him into a championship lead depending on what happens to Robin Frains and everyone else around him. We're on lap 20 out of 54. Scott Dixon leads ahead of Robin Frains, Kevin Magnussen, Andre Lotterer, Mika Salo's up there in P5, but he is yet to come into the pits. Nick De Vries in 6th ahead of Roy Nissany out in P7 from the pits. PK Jr. in 8th, Roman Grosjean in 9th, and Marco Andretti in 10th.
And Roy Nissany, he's losing places at the moment. He's just lost 2 positions to De Vries and PK. Has he got a problem, I wonder?
Looks like we've got a little bit of battle going on here for what will be P14. Could be a double overtake, no Wehrlein shutting a door on one of the Minardis there. That's Tom Christensen who is in the middle of all of that. Big battle going on there for P14. They might benefit from some later attrition in this race. Kevin Magnussen back up to P3 in this race, and Mika Salo, could he be on a one-stop strategy? He still hasn't come into the pits. So is this maybe 40 Corsi trying something bold here today? They've got both cars in the top 10. I wonder if Dave Goddard's getting a bit of a nosebleed from the heady heights that he's enjoying at the moment. De Vries now into P5, and Daniel Cadet is going off.
And he's off into the gravel, and he's in quite a deep gravel trap there with Jonken Daya. We've seen that. Yeah, I think that was just lost all by himself, didn't he?
We saw that same mistake in the League 2 race from Sam Bird, which resulted in his retirement. And Jonken Daya, he's buried quite far into the gravel there. That might be curtains for the Spanish driver. Well, he's got it going a bit, but he needs to get it turned around and out of the barrier. He's now reversing back onto the track. He needs to be careful doing this. He doesn't get in anyone's way. So if he does, then it could be quite a heady penalty for the Spanish driver. He's now come to a stop half on the circuit, reversing back on, and looks like he might be alright here. I think he is. He's just had a lap put on him by Scott Dixon, who managed to navigate his way safely through the danger zone. Jonken Daya, he won't want to be making that mistake again. He was on course to maybe get a point later on in this race, but he's throwing that chance away. And Nico Hulkenberg there in P18 trying to get up the positions, and a little bit of a glitch there on the feed. I apologise for that. Hulkenberg trying to get past Mika Salo here, who has now come in for his pit stop. Out to the points as it stands, but what could he do later on in this race?
Well, Salo, who I believe has yet to... I don't know if he's scored a point so far this season as Salo. You might have to fill me in on that, Topher.
I've got it up on here. Yeah, 9th place in Fuji is his only points finish, so 2 points to his name so far.
Yeah, so he could do with another points finish today to help 40's cause. And with Nissany up in 6th place now, and he's already pitted.
So just finding the team standings at the moment as far as League 1 is concerned. 40 Corsi is on 25 points, and they are 7 points behind Minardi, who are in a crucial P10 spot. So if Nissany comes home in P6, that is 8 points. Minardi currently with neither driver in the points, so as it stands, 40 Corsi set to go up into P10, which is absolutely crucial if Dave Goddard wants to stay in League 1 when we come to Season 3. A lot to play for here, and Nissany's getting the job done in at 40 Corsi at the moment.
Yep, Prost not in the points at the moment, but Alguersuari and Wittmann are 11th and 12th. So if anything happens up front, they could well sneak into a point scoring position.
Well, they're there or thereabouts. Alguersuari's less than 3 seconds behind Kamui Kobayashi at the moment. So Kobayashi, for me, Tom, has been the disappointment of the season, and I don't want to be harsh by saying that, but he started off the season with a victory. He won the Taupo Grand Prix, and maybe we're thinking Kobayashi could have a good run to the title here. But then the next time he scored points was round 6 at Chennai, and that was only 2 of them. And then after that, he picked up a second place at the last round in Imola, but only 3 points finishes from the first 10 races. That's not what you'd expect of Kamui Kobayashi.
No, definitely not. And you just see Dixon there in the lead, 12 seconds ahead of Frines now. So I think it's just a matter of if Dixon gets to the end, he'll win the race, or he has mechanical issues.
Team managers, we're now starting to look forward to Season 3 of the Grand Prix World Series. We are getting some team managers committing to their roles for next season. Scott Woodward sticking on with Simtech into Season 3. But Emma Butterworth, the team principal of the Arrows team, has confirmed that she will not be continuing into Season 3. So Arrows without a manager at the moment for the next season. So who will pick them up? We'll bring you all of the updates as they happen. A lot of the moves will get done in the off-season after the final round in Laguna Seca. Keeping up to date on what is going on within the team manager markets, as it were. Minardi also without a team manager for Season 3. Teapot's taking the decision to step down at the end of the season. So maybe a new team manager, or maybe an existing team manager in League 2 will want to make the move up to a League 1 team. So a lot of interesting moves, not just within the driver market, but also within the manager market, coming your way over the next few weeks. At 24, we have 6 retirements from this race. Sebastien Bourdais, Thiago Monteiro, Stoffel Van Dorn, Kazuki Nakajima, Antonio Felix da Costa and Sebastian Buemi all coming to grief in the early stages of this race. And I'm glad to say, Tom, we haven't had as much reliability so far in this race, or rather reliability issues in this race so far, as we did in the League 2 race.
That's true. The car seems to have survived most of it so far. Say 24 laps of it so far, and we've still got another 30 to go. So it could still change from here on in.
There's so much that can happen in the Grand Prix World Series. We've seen drivers fall out of the lead with a handful of laps left to go. It happened to Stoffel Van Dorn in Fuji. Sorry to bring that up, Scott Woodward. If it can happen once, it can happen again. And that's not just for the Simtech team. That's for any of the teams. Reliability plays a big part in the Grand Prix World Series. And at the moment, Scott Dixon in the lead, but is he going to last the distance? It's a big story so far with Simtech this season, that they have this win or bust mentality where they will pretty much either win the race or retire trying. Now I'm looking at their stats here. So they've got 4 wins at the moment, has Simtech, 2 for Scott Dixon and 2 for Stoffel Van Dorn. But out of the last, in the last 3 races, they've had 5 retirements. The last 3 races only seen 1 finish between their cars, and that was a 5th place in Birmingham. That was for Stoffel Van Dorn in that race. But Scott Dixon, the speed is definitely there. He's taken 4 of the last pole positions in 3 of the last fastest laps. So absolutely on form. But that Simtech proving to be a little bit fragile. It's sort of the Colin Chapman approach by Scott Woodward. You make the car as fast as you can, but it might come at the expense of reliability.
So looking at the order, Lotter is 9 seconds off Magnussen in 4th position, but he pitted later than Magnussen. I think it was only like a lap or 2 later than the Dane. But he's still on course for some good points here. As it stands, Robin Frines will be leading the championship.
Well, we still have a long way to go. We're only at the halfway mark of the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Robin Frines on for 18 points as it stands, which would take him up to 89 points, which would give him an advantage of 6 over Nico Hülkenberg, who as it stands is not going to score in this race. Andre Lotterer currently on 72. He's on course for 12 points, which would put him on 84 points. It's still so close in this championship. Whatever way you look at it, Tom, I reckon we are in for a fight right to the wire at the last race in Laguna Seca.
I couldn't agree with you more. Dixon continuing to stretch out his margin. I mean, the gap he's got over 4th place Andre Lotterer is 30 seconds, which means he's more than the pit stop ahead of him. And I think he'll want to stretch out the margin over Magnussen as well. He needs like 26 seconds, doesn't he, for his second? But either way, he's well and truly safe in the lead.
We saw this in the League 2 race, Tom. Alex Lynn led from pole position and dominated the race en route to victory, a very welcome victory in the HRT camp. Is Scott Dixon on to do what Alex Lynn did, lead from pole position and go on to win the race? Of course, we have talked about reliability. It can happen to Dixon. It has happened to Dixon on more than one occasion. Will he get to the end? We really hope he does. We don't wish unreliability on any of the drivers on this grid. Scott Dixon in a commanding position at the moment, and if he does go on to win this race, it will be a well-deserved one. 15.2 seconds now, the gap between himself and Robin Frein. Scott Dixon making the most out of the power he's got out of that Simtek and putting in a stellar performance out front. Kevin Magnussen on for what would be a third podium in 4 races. He's enjoying a fine run of form at the moment. So a little bit of a lock up there. I'm not sure who we're riding on board with at the moment. I didn't quite catch it on the graphic. Pascal Wehrlein, thank you, Tom. As Mika Salo under attack now from Nico Hulkenberg. And Salo trying to hold off the Arrows driver, who's a championship leader. Hulkenberg getting very agitated down there in P18. He wants to be up there fighting for victory here today. But as it is, he's down in the lower reaches of the field and fighting with a 40 Corti of Mika Salo. Not where he wants to be, Tom.
No, definitely not. As you can see, Dixon's closing up to the back markers now, so it won't be too long before he catches up to the likes of Salo, the MasterCard Lolas. You know, and Dixon's just too quick for everyone out there. You can see Hulkenberg, championship leader going into this round, battling over 17th place.
Well, we just cut away from the battle at the wrong moment to look at Tatiana Calderon, but you can see now Hulkenberg did not get the move done on Mika Salo, so he will regroup and have another go in another few corners' time. Now, Tatiana Calderon, another driver who's not really been performing to the standard that we were expecting of her. Just checking the notes here, where is she? She has 1 points finish to her name, and that was a P8 at Sepang. Since then, her best result is 11th, which came with the last time in Monza. Now, Robin Freins is behind a good friend of his, actually, Danny Juncadea. These two very close to each other. Juncadea quite happily getting out of the way of Freins, who's fighting for the championship this season. Juncadea, he's one of those drivers who's actually quite underrated within the world of motorsport. He's got multiple Macau Grand Prix wins to his name. He's very successful also in GT racing, but never really got the opportunity that some would argue he deserved in Formula 1. He did have tests with, I believe, Force India, if I remember correctly on that one, Tom, but not really getting the opportunity that many think he deserved.
No, definitely not. And Juncadea was impressive. He was impressive in the rookie test, wasn't he, at Istanbul? And he got the chance in Birmingham, which didn't. He finished in the points on that occasion. He finished in the points at Imola, but although retrospectively he was demoted, he got a 30-second time penalty for a collision he caused on the opening lap of the race.
Yeah, Daniel Juncadea becoming a cropper on the opening lap of the Imola Grand Prix, getting involved, or rather triggering a multi-car incident which took out, I think, 4 or 5 drivers, if I remember correctly on that one. Juncadea definitely does have the speed, but the Minardi not giving him the results he wants at the moment. So with T-Pot falling out of the Minardi team at the end of the season, Hulkenberg having another look there at Mika Salo trying to get down the inside of the 40 Corsi there. But Juncadea, with the sort of drives he's putting in, with the machinery that he has at his disposal, T-Pot will not be continuing with Minardi into Season 3, which means his drivers are available going towards Season 3. So maybe Juncadea can find a drive with a better team.
Possibly. You can see Dixon finding his way, coming onto the back markers now. You can clearly see the first one of those will be Tatiana Calderon, who will be lapping first on the 60 Silvestro. Can't quite tell by the helmet design, but Dixon doesn't need to worry about trying to pass them. He just needs to pick them off one by one. And going back to the Nakajima Van Dorn incident, do you think Nakajima had got on the curb, or you know where the Imola chicane is? We've seen drivers go off there. I think he may have shunted into the side of Van Dorn, which forced Van Dorn off.
I mean, it's possible. We caught the replay at just the wrong time there. To me, it looked like at the time where they were in the barrier, Nakajima was actually a couple of car lengths behind Van Dorn. So I was wondering whether they had gone off independently of each other and just effectively had the same accident. As Hulkenberg, another look at Salo there, not able to get the job done. He needs to wait to get past that king before making the move down the inside into the Adelaide hairpin here. So going back to your question, Tom, at the time it looked like it was independently of each other, but I do actually wonder, now that you bring up, maybe there was a bit of contact between them, maybe a bit earlier on in the corner, which then forced them to basically both lose control and hit the barrier simultaneously of each other. It's one we might have to have another look at later on. As it is, both Nakajima and Van Dorn out of the race and neither scoring points, and that is not good news for Van Dorn, as he wanted to maximise his opportunity here today. He is currently 19 points off the lead of the championship at the moment, as Dixon always getting busy in the traffic here, trying to get past Nico Hulkenberg, and he has got through now on the German championship leader. But Dixon, this is scratchy run time at the moment for the Kiwi. He needs to be careful through the traffic.
I was just going to say, Dixon was trying to lap Van Dorn. Not Van Dorn, Dixon, and he ended up in the nearly ended up on the grass on the exit of the Imola chicane.
I've just had word here, actually, Tom. Just had a message come through. This is from the Onyx team. Nakajima actually had a suspension issue, which forced him to collide with Van Dorn, who at the same time... Wait, sorry, no, I'm reading this wrong, sorry. Van Dorn had a suspension issue, which forced him to collide with Nakajima because Van Dorn was out of control. So, a simple accident on that one. Van Dorn having an issue and not really able to get out of the way of Nakajima. We haven't really seen exactly what happened on the camera work from that one, so the stewards, they might have access to more cameras than that one. They will make a decision on that if they need to. But that is the word coming through from the pits. Van Dorn having a transmission issue and collecting Nakajima in the course of retiring.
So is that Van Dorn's fault for, or is that Nakajima, would you say? Is Nakajima...
I feel as though it's inconclusive at the moment because we haven't seen the full incident. We only saw the tail end of it when they were already off the track and on the way into the barrier. So that might be one for the stewards to look at later on, and if they deem that there is any action needed, then they will do so. But at this moment in time, Tom, I don't think we can draw too many conclusions from it.
We'll come back to it another time then. You can see Dixon losing time a little bit in the traffic. You can see Hulkenberg finally getting past Salo for a lowly 17th place as Di Silvestro is behind them. Her teammate Calderon's 3 positions up in 16th. We're not quite seeing the attrition from what we had in the League 2 race, so the drivers seem to be either behaving themselves properly or the reliability just seems to be going their way right now.
Well, we did say it at the top of the programme, Tom. The League 1 teams generally have better reliability than the League 2 teams, such as the development direction of the team managers. I mean, the League 1 managers, they are the more experienced ones in the Grand Prix World Series. They know that you need to be able to get to the finish to score points. So they've been erring a little bit more on the side of caution by bringing in more reliability upgrades, whereas the League 2 teams have been going a lot more for power and just trying to get up to fight for positions in the first place. Now, here is Pascal Wehrlein we're riding on board with behind Kobayashi. Dixon into the pits for his second pit stop. So, this is going to be crucial for the Simtech team. Where is Dixon going to feed out? Is it going to be into clear air? And Fraines, he goes through into the lead of the race. Where is Dixon going to come out? Magnussen through into P2. Dixon is on his way out now. He's going to be well ahead of Andre Lotter at this point. And he is indeed Dixon. He has the clear air to work with. And he is now set for victory here today. He still needs to get to the end of the race. He still has 21 laps left to go here in Magny-Cours, but it's looking very commanding at the moment for Scott Dixon.
So Fraines temporarily takes over the lead ahead of Magnussen, and Dixon rejoining in third after his last stop. Lotter ahead of De Vries, Nissany, Piquet Jr., Grosjean, Andretti and Kobayashi.
Now, we haven't seen too much of Romain Grosjean in this race, but he's up there in P8 at the moment, looking like he could score some points on debut for the Manor team. And he's been putting in a fantastic performance so far in his first time in League 1. And this is him staking a claim, effectively, for a full-time Season 3 seat. Now, here's Pascal Wehrlein trying to do to Hulkenberg what Hulkenberg was trying to... to Kobayashi, trying to do what Hulkenberg was trying to do solo earlier. And Wehrlein is down the inside into P10, so Wehrlein up into the points-paying positions. So 1 point at the moment for Pascal Wehrlein. Kobayashi will want to get that point back as soon as possible. Now, a point that Chris Cavity here has brought up, actually. Don't forget regarding reliability, Tom. The top 10 in League 1 from last season had a reliability bonus carried forward into Season 2, which will account for why the teams are a bit more reliable than they are in League 2. And we're not really planning on carrying that forward into Season 3. We want all the teams effectively to restart as 0 to give all the teams as good a chance as they can to get their way to the front.
I mean, I suppose that's fair, especially with the new managers coming in and potentially changing over managers between teams, as the AGS of Vergne is in the pits for the 3rd time in this race.
And Piquet Jr. also into the pits as well, out of P7. Piquet having a very strong race so far. In what is his 3rd appearance. Yeah, his 3rd appearance. He debuted at the Birmingham Super Prix in place of Pietro Fittipaldi, his fellow Brazilian. Piquet Jr. highly impressive at the young driver test in Istanbul. Emma Featherstone making a decision to bring Piquet in place of Fittipaldi. And so far, 2 points finishes out of 2 and on course for a 3rd today. As Frames also into the pits now, which releases Magnussen into the lead and Dixon into 2nd.
We've just seen a move from Di Resta down the inside of Wittmann into the Adelaide hairpin. And Di Resta goes up to 11th position, is now in the cross sandwich. Lotterer also in for BMS Scuderia Italia. That, I think he'll rejoin in 4th actually, because De Vries is some way behind.
So Magnussen we're riding on board with at the moment. He is in the lead, but look who's right behind him. It is Scott Dixon, who has come in for his final pit stop and is on fresher tyres. So Dixon, he'll play it safe. He won't want to risk too much in getting past Magnussen. He might even just wait until Magnussen comes into the pits to get his 2nd and final pit stop done. De Vries, Alguersuari and Grosjean all into the pits as well. These will be their final pit stops of the race. De Vries, they're in 10th at the moment. And where's Grosjean going to come out with regards to everyone else? As Andretti down the inside of Andre Lotterer there. I don't think Andretti's come in for his 2nd pit stop yet, but he's putting in a fine performance there in the manor. Roy Nissany back up into P4, but he's got one more pit stop to make. And Magnussen goes on for another lap, but he's got Scott Dixon right behind him trying to get into the lead. And Dixon's now effectively a whole pit stop ahead of Kevin Magnussen at this point. He's going to set him up through turn 3 and get the run down towards the Adelaide hairpin. And he's right in his wheel tracks here. Magnussen, there's no sense of Magnussen fighting this one. He's not fighting Dixon for position at the moment. Dixon pulls out to a slipstream and he's been forced onto the grass a little bit there by Magnussen. Magnussen is getting racy despite not really fighting Dixon for position here. Magnussen, he will need to come to the pits. Well, Dixon does not need to risk anything here. He's on course for a victory here. All Frames getting a little bit wide onto the curb there, but holding on to P3 at the moment. Kobayashi into the pits, out of P7. And Roy Nissany, what a drive he's having at the moment. Even when he comes into the pits, he will still be around the points paying positions, I should imagine. Kobayashi and Di Resta both into pits. Wittmann will need to come in for a pit stop as well, as will Christensen. So we'll keep an eye on the graphics to see who is going to be where when all of the pit stops happen. Calderon in from P15 there. And I think Nissany, I think it's fair to say, Tom, is one of my drivers of the day. Di Silvestro coming to a stop there. It's a suspension failure on the front right there for the Mastercar Loden. Oh, a bit of damage across Garden. Oh, even more damage there. That is the same curb that caught out Pascal Wehrlein earlier on in this race. So maybe an issue with the curbing there, Tom. It's causing damage to these cars here.
Well, we saw it in Imola last week, you know, when the cars were going over the gravel, and we saw bits of debris and wheels flying off it, but Di Silvestro was carrying a problem anyway, so it's not a driver error on that one. Magnussen coming into the pits for his last stop now. Which releases Scott Dixon back into the lead of the Grand Prix, and he is less than 20 laps away from victory here. And, oh, we've got... Was that a problem there from Midland, maybe? It looked like Montero might have been going slowly there. No, Dixon was just putting a lap on him.
So Montero getting lapped there by Scott Dixon, as Andretti's now into the pits. That puts Lotter into P5. Wittmann also into the lead as well. So these are the final few pit stoppers that are coming in now. We're still waiting for Roy Nissany to come in for his second pit stop. Where will he filter back out? If we said it was about 26 seconds, didn't we, Tom, for a pit stop?
Yeah, 26.
So if we go by 26, then Nissany actually might only lose out on one position here, because De Vries is 27 seconds behind Nissany. But Nissany's not just there on pit stop, he's actually there on merit. He's been putting in a fine drive so far.
So we've got 16 laps to go, and Magnussen on course for another podium in the AGS. Vines, who's still yet to win a race this season, is in second place. I'm trying to look to see how many podiums he's had this season though, as the Dutchman. So far, he's finished on the podium only twice actually, but he's been in the points a lot this season. He's had 4th place a fifth, 2 sixes, and a third and a second.
Right, here we go. Tom Nissany is into the pits. If it is a 26-second pit stop, we'll need to see how the 40 Corsi pit crew does. But he could get out ahead of Nick de Vries here and be in P5 on merit. What a drive it's been from the Israeli so far. We're waiting for the graphic to update. He's now out of the pit lane. Is it going to be ahead of Nick de Vries? It looks like it is. And there we go. We've cut to it. De Vries, he's on tyres that's up to temperature, but Roy Nissany has the track position and he is P5 in this race. This is going to be a huge result for 40 Corsi as they look to avoid relegation at the end of the season. De Vries not quite doing enough to get past the Israeli there, and Nissany's doing a fantastic job here today. But De Vries has now lost out to Piquet Jr., so De Vries has gone from the attacker to the defender, and he's lost out on P6 here.
It's a really bad luck there for De Vries in his attempt to try and get past Nissany. And Nissany on the fresh tyres should be able to go to the end now.
And what can Piquet Jr. do from P6? He's right behind Roy Nissany at the moment, but they are on tyres that are a few laps older than that of Nissany. So what can Nissany do from there? Putting in a fantastic drive. Can he bring home those 10 points for 40 Corsi? We still have about 14 laps left to go here at Magny-Cours. We momentarily ride on board with Kevin Magnussen. Now look at Tom Christensen in P15. Now cast your mind back to the Sepang Grand Prix, Tom. Tom Christensen took second place in that race on merit. It was not a race of attrition at all. He just drove that well that day, but not really done much else so far in the rest of the season. He's only scored points on one other occasion. That was a P8 finish at Adelaide. So Tom Christensen, he's got the speed, but he's just not really able to show it on as many occasions as he'd like to.
No, and it's been a shame really for. Sorry, I've lost which driver you're referring to there.
Well, Nick de Vries has just got back past Piquet Jr. So de Vries up into P6 and he will now chase off after Roy Nissany. We were talking about Tom Christensen for a moment. A second place finish in Sepang, but only one other points finished to his name. And I'm not really sure if Christensen's going to be on the driver market for Season 3, Tom.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. I mean, Christensen, age is a factor when it comes to the Grand Prix World Series, isn't it? Which is something you may want to explain to the team managers. That everything is not about age, but it can be an element involved when it comes to how quick each driver is.
There is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, not just in the Grand Prix World Series, but also in the Retro Racing Managers League in general. When it comes to putting the drivers into the Grand Prix 2 mod that we use, it's not just simply a case of putting a name in and letting them get on with it. They do have driver stats, and age is a factor on that. So if they are a little bit on the older side past their prime, their numbers do get depleted a bit. Not a massive amount, but age is definitely something that's taken into consideration when setting up the mod for this game. So Tom Christensen, he's in his 50s now. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's definitely into his 50s. So past his prime, he's definitely got the ability to have good stats, but because of his age, having his numbers depleted a little bit, that is how it works within the Grand Prix World Series. You genuinely need to think about what drivers you have. Some people are thinking that maybe an older driver would be good because of the experience, and while that is true, they might have the experience, but they also might not have age on their side. It's a bit of a fine balancing act to find, but I think in the Retro Racing Managers League, Tom, I think we find the balance pretty well. I'd say for the most part, a lot of the stats are actually fairly accurate.
Yep, and looking at Dixon's gap now, over 22 seconds now on fines. He really is putting out all the stops here, is Dixon. Remember, he had such a huge lead before retiring at Imola. Just gotta hope that kind of luck doesn't strike him again here in Magny-Cours. He is 13 laps away from a brilliant victory.
I wonder what Scott Woodward is thinking right now. As he has this win or bust mentality. He's got 4 wins to his name this season, has been very successful. He's the most successful in terms of number of race wins, but he's also had a lot of retirements to his name, so he's either won the race or retired trying. So he'll be looking at this thinking he's got one driver out of the race and one driver in the lead, and is a similar sort of fate going to befall Scott Dixon in the latter stages of this race. We do not wish unreliability upon any driver within the Grand Prix World Series. We love to see them race, we love to see them challenge each other. As Scott Dixon, with the performance he's put in this race, Tom, he absolutely deserves a victory today.
Most certainly so. Dixon's been splendid. He's already won 2 races this year. If he wins here, he'll become the first driver to win 3.
He will indeed. I wonder if Scott Woodward's rethinking maybe the medal system that Bernie Ecclestone thought of a few years ago would be rather handy for him in the Grand Prix World Series.
Maybe so. Magnussen, 3rd place at the moment, and looking at Ronan Sonny, he may be a minute off the lead, but he's pulling away now from Nick de Vries.
He is indeed. It's been dominating at the front from Scott Dixon. He's cleared off into the lead. But looking at the battles throughout the field now, Romain Freins 22.9 off the lead, but he's got a comfortable gap to Kevin Magnussen in P3, who is in turn 10 seconds ahead of Andre Lotterer. Then we have 23 seconds to Nissany in 5th. And then a little bit of a gaggle of cars here, 5 seconds separating 6th through to 10th. So maybe a few changes of position coming up later on in the race between those 5 cars. De Vries, Piquet Jr., Grosjean, Vergne and Andretti. There is Kevin Magnussen in P3 on course for a 3rd podium in 4 races. Some good consistency there from the Dane as he gets himself into championship contention for this season. Let's have a quick reminder of our retirements so far from this race. Not as many as the League 2 race. Those of you who are watching earlier on, we had a whole spat of retirements in that race. We had about 7 within 5 minutes of each other. And in the end, only 10 drivers finished that race. But so far in the League 1 race, we have Buemi, the first driver, out earlier on. Then Da Costa with a transmission issue. Kazuki Nakajima and Stoffel Van Dorn possibly tripping up over each other as Van Dorn had a suspension issue. Thiago Montero out with a transmission issue. And then suspension failures for both Sebastien Bourdais and Simona Di Silvestro. 18 runners left in this race. Much better reliability than what we saw earlier on, Tom, and it's meant better racing.
Yeah, we've just seen a move there from the AGS of Vergne on Grosjean as they come towards the Adelaide hairpin. I don't think Grosjean was able, or Vergne, sorry, I should say, was able to pull the move off. So he sits behind him in 9th place. Vergne's had quite a recovery today, hasn't he? Because he came in for an early stop, and despite pitting 3 times, he'll still be able to get himself back into the points.
He had that ride across the curves earlier on. As Magnussen's falling out. Magnussen falling to the side of the circuit there. He's got a mechanical issue of some sort, and that is a podium thrown away for the AGS team. It's a gearbox issue for the AGS. That is a real shame for Phil Kinch and the team. They were looking so strong today. Pascal Wehrlein was putting in a good recovery drive to get himself up into P9, what will now be P8. And Kevin Magnussen on for another podium this season. Now out of the race. That is a real shame. That promotes Andre Lotterer up into P3, another championship contender in this race. And Phil Kinch will not be at all happy with that. Hit all of his hopes now on Pascal Wehrlein, who will be promoted up to P8 as a result.
That's a big blow to AGS there, and Phil Kinch will be very, very gutted with it. But it's good news for Andre Lotterer in his fight for the championship. You wouldn't have thought Emma Featherstone's team would be in the running, would you?
Well, in Season 1, BMS Scuderia was one of the backmarkers. I think they finished that season 11th overall, I think it was. So I went into Season 2 with not a lot of hopes. Emma Featherstone brought Andre Lotterer into the team, and he's been an absolute revelation this season. He's got himself a victory in Fuji as he puts a lap on Danny Junkendaya there, right on cue. A victory in Fuji, a 2nd place in Adelaide, and a 3rd place in Birmingham. Consistent point scores elsewhere means he's now 3rd in the standings. If he finishes 3rd here today, that'll be 15 points, which will put him on to 87. That'll be ahead of Nico Hulkenberg as it stands. It'll be behind Romain Freins, who will pick up 18 points for 2nd place here. Lotterer right in the thick of this championship battle, and just putting in strong performance after strong performance throughout the season. He is a driver who you cannot rule out of any sort of challenge this season.
Lotterer, you can see there in 3rd place, just up in the Minardi there of Danny Junkendaya, who has struggled from that spin. They had Romain Freins, who'll be looking to just get the cars at the end of the race now. Vergne still behind Grosjean in the battle over 7th place. We'll be looking to get the move done very, very soon. And I have to say, you know, Arrows are on course to get just the 1 point there with Kobayashi in 10th. Hulkenberg's had a race to the gap.
And Arrows will have a new team manager going into Season 3. Emma Butterworth has taken a decision to resign at the end of the season. So Arrows up on the market. Will any team principal want to take them into Season 3? They are a race-winning outfit. They can get strong results, but just not on a consistent basis. So maybe something that a new team manager can work with going into next season. Pascal Wehrlein there having another look to get past Romain Grosjean, but not able to find a way through past Romain Grosjean. Having a fantastic run here in P7 on his debut for the Manor outfit, the newly christened Australian team. Sam Hall moving the team out to the Gold Coast and deciding that they will now be an Australian outfit. Has that changed their fortunes? Well, they're now fighting to get away from the relegation battle, and they're doing just that. They have Grosjean on P7 and Andretti in P9. That's going to be 8 points on the table for the Manor team should they finish the race in those positions. Dixon continues to lead, 25.3 seconds now. Dixon's so comfortable out in front at the moment, and I don't think we should mention him too much, Tom. I think Scott Woodward might have a bit of a go at us for bringing the commentator's curse on him.
He's 7 laps away from a victory here, but Simtek have already lost wins in the final laps of this season, this season's races, I should say. Stoff Van Dorn and Fuji, remember?
Yeah, very high profile one that was for Van Dorn, on course for what would have been another dominant victory for the Simtek team, but that one all coming apart 4 laps from the end of the Fuji Grand Prix. That particular race was won by this man, Andre Lotterer, right in contention for the title, only 11 points off the leader at the moment, and he can go into second in the championship should it finish like this. Scott Dixon, your race leader, he will pick up 27 points should it finish like this. He's currently on 64 points, so that'll put him up to 91. Actually, you know what, Tom? 91 points. I reckon I'll be the leader of the championship for Scott Dixon from 8th in the standings.
Well, looking at his points table, 65, that would put him on 91 points. We don't know what the fastest lap will be, but I can guess it's probably Scott Dixon. But yeah, I think he would actually move into the lead, unless Robin Frines is... Yeah, you're actually right. Scott Dixon would move into the lead of the championship if he was to win this race now.
So we said it at the top of the programme, any one of the top 8 can come away from this race leading the championship. Well, the guy who's 8th place in the standings, this man here, Scott Dixon, he could well take the lead in the championship if he goes on to win this race. We're only a few laps away from the end now, and he's looking very comfortable up in front. He's not pushing the car too hard, he's just nursing it and making sure he gets that Simtek home to the end. We're on lap 49 out of 54. Robin Fraines in second, Andre Lotter in third. Roy Nassani still in fourth, but only 2.5 ahead of Nick de Vries. Can de Vries maybe mount a late challenge here for 4th place on the Israeli? We still have a few laps left to go, and it could happen. A bit of a moment there for Kamui Kobayashi out of P10 as he is lapped by Scott Dixon. So Dixon has lapped everyone past P10 at the moment. This is how commanding it has been for Scott Dixon. He's lapped so many cars en route to what looks like is going to be victory here today. Only 9 cars left on the lead lap.
And you can see August Troy in the background there. He's desperate to get that point really for Prost. It's not... I don't know whether to say it's a good day for Prost. It's probably not, because there's no cars in the points, and with 40 getting 12 points now, that is going to elevate him out of the drop zone and push Minardi into it.
It will indeed. 40 Corsi currently on 25 points. The 12 points for Nissani in fourth will put them on to 37, which will be 5 ahead of Minardi and out of the relegation zone. All to play for. We've only got 5 races left to go after this event. So on the run into season's end now, it is absolutely crucial for teams to get as many points and as many finishes as they can. And there's so much intrigue, not just at the front, but at the back as well. Can 40 Corsi get more points? Can Oscar Lola get more points? Lola only has 5 points to his name from an 8th place finish for Calderon in Sepang and a 10th place finish for Di Silvestro in Chennai. It looks like they will get relegated down into League 2. But who will stay in League 1? Can Prost pull something out of the bag in the last few races? There's still so much to play for, Tom. I'm so excited for the last few races.
Yeah, it's going to be very much like a Premier League final day, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be so much drama in Laguna Seca. I can just feel it. I would love the entirety of the Grand Prix World Series community to tune into that race. Make sure they follow along and get the excitement going amongst all of our teams, all of our drivers and all of our managers. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic run in to the end of the season. 5 events left to go after this one. And Scott Dixon, he looks like he's going to become our first 3-time race winner this season. No driver across both leagues has won more than 2 races this season. So Scott Dixon on course to take his 3rd, and it's going to be 17 Grand Prix winners from 22 races, I make it, Tom. How is that competitive?
Well, I don't think you can get it really any better than that. It's been that, highly competitive over the course of the campaign. And we've got Hockenheim next week.
Yes, we do have Hockenheim, and that is the classic Hockenheim layout, the full blast through the trees, the one with the famous S-curve. So much drama around those trees over the years, and we are going back there for the Grand Prix World Series. It will very much be a power circuit, which will favour the likes of SimTech in League 1 and Life in League 2, but as well as being a power circuit, it can also be a bit of a car breaker. That will be a very interesting affair at the German circuit. I wouldn't like to call who's going to win that one. Well, I think I can pretty much guarantee, Tom, that it will be one of the SimTechs on pole position, but past that, I can't make any predictions.
I can't either, and it could end up being the car breaker. I mean, remember in the 1990 Grand Prix 2 World Championship, you remember where Mika Hakkinen and Jean Alesi were running 1 and 2 and they broke down at the same time?
Oh yes, I do remember that, yes. That was absolute scenes there in Hockenheim. Yeah, I think we're set for more of the same in that race. We could potentially have another couple of attritional races.
So just looking down the remaining laps, where Pascal Wehrlein did eventually get past Romain Grosjean for 7th place. He's now 1.5 seconds behind Nelson Piquet Jr. Can he get another couple of points as some recompense for Magnussen's retirement?
We are on lap 53 out of 54. It is a penultimate lap of the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix. Scott Dixon is your race leader, your dominant race leader. Has been lights the flag so far for the Kiwi. And bit of a lock-up there for Dixon, actually. Just as we were talking about him, he has a lock-up, and he won't want to do that anymore. He's only a lap and a half away from the end, but he will not want to throw it away at this moment in the race. Dixon very nearly becoming a cropper into the Adelaide hairpin, but he keeps it together, and surely he's now going to calm it down and just make sure he brings that SimTech to the end of the race. Robin Frains on for P2 and his 3rd podium of the season. Andre Lotterer, another strong drive from him. He's been one of the models of consistency so far, and this will be his 5th podium of the campaign. Now Scott Dixon about to start the final lap. He's got a little bit of traffic up ahead of him in the form of Marco Andretti, but I don't think that will prove any problem for the Kiwi. He now starts the final lap, and this is Mika Salo slowing down.
Yes, it is. Yeah, he's got a problem.
It's a puncture for Mika Salo. So he wasn't on course for any points, but that's not what Dave Goddard will want from the 40 Corsi team. He's got one driver up there in P4. Mika Salo out of the race. He will still be classified as we're on the penultimate lap. Well, he's on the penultimate lap still. That is not a sight that Dave Goddard wants to see. He'll now be keeping a keen eye on Roy Nassani in P4, make sure that he gets to the end. Dixon navigates the Adelaide hairpin properly this time, and he's now set for what will be an absolutely fantastic victory from the SimTech driver. Victory that Scott Woodward will be very happy to see. He's come so close to victories. He's won a lot of races, but also lost a lot of races. I think SimTech could possibly be on at least 7 or 8 victories this season had it not been for their reliability woes. While an issue earlier on forced Van Dorn out of the race, there's been no such problem for this man here, Scott Dixon. Only a handful of corners left to navigate in the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix, and this has been possibly the most dominant display we have seen yet in the Grand Prix World Series. He rounds the final corner, puts the power down to the line, and Scott Dixon wins the League 1 Magny-Cours Grand Prix and takes the lead of the championship. It is a fantastic victory for the Kiwi. Robin Frains will come home in P2 ahead of Andre Lotterer. They will all rise to the top 3 positions within the standings. Marco Wittmann's going to get his first finish of the season in P13 as Nico Hulkenberg was disappointing Dave him in P15. Robin Frains there in P2, 18 points for himself, and he will now be 2nd in the standings after the race. And Andre Lotterer will come home in 3rd and be 3rd in the standings. It is a 1-2-3 in the standings now for the 1-2-3 at the end of this race. And we wait to see Roy Nassani coming across the line in P4 and a 40 Corsi. What a drive it has been by him as well. A 40 Corsi, one of the most underpowered cars on the grid, but Nassani has put in one of the best performances I've seen in the Grand Prix World Series. We had a dominant winner today, but also what a drive by this man here. Roy Nassani as the final corner, and this is P4 for the Israeli, ahead of Nick de Vries, Piquet Jr., Pascal Wehrlein. What a drive, Tom. What a race.
Excellent job from Nassani. He's my driver of the day, actually, given that result. I don't think you'll argue against that.
It's either him or Dixon, to be fair, but given the machinery at their respective disposals, I'm giving it to Nassani as well. Here is your official result. Scott Dixon wins for Simtech, his third win of the season, ahead of Robin Frain, second in Super Guri, and Andre Lotterer, third in the BMS Scuderia. Roy Nassani, fourth, ahead of Nick de Vries, Nelson Piquet Jr., Pascal Wehrlein, Roman Grosjean, points on debut for Mana, and ahead of Marco Andretti in P9. Kuro Kobayashi gets the final points in P10. Jaime Alguersuari just missing out on points in P11, ahead of Paul de Resta. Marco Wittmann, his first finish of the season, in 13th. Tom Christensen, 14th, ahead of Hulkenberg, Calderon, Jonkendaya and Salo, falling by the wayside right near the end there. Your retirees: Kevin Magnussen, Simona Di Silvestro, Sebastian Bourdais, Thiago Monteiro, Stoffel Van Dorn, Kazuki Nakajima, Antonio Felix da Costa and Sebastian Buemi. And there is the trio for Scott Dixon, fastest lap as well. Pole, fastest lap and the race win. Tom, what a dominant performance there by Dixon.
Yep, he very much needed that after the run of retirements, actually, in at Imola, and I think he also retired in Birmingham and Istanbul. So the last three races before today, he failed to finish. This is very much payback time now for Dixon, and he's leading the World Championship.
Can he keep that form going into the last 5 races? Next time out, as we've already said, it is going to be Hockenheim. We look forward to the blast through the forest there. It is going to be an absolutely fascinating contest, a power circuit, but also a car braking circuit. Tom, Hockenheim, I think, is going to be quite a special event.
I thoroughly cannot wait for that. And I think we'll see a lot more overtaking there than we have seen in Magny-Cours today.
Absolutely. Make sure you tune in next time for the Hockenheim Grand Prix. It'll be on Wednesday at 1 o'clock UK time, as always. Make sure you tune in then, and thank you for watching. I'm Topher Smith, alongside me Tom Cairns. See you next time.